Against the backdrop of a star-dusted night sky, two silhouettes are frozen in a moment of pure tension. A story of a princess and her knight, a tale woven through time. The city lights glitter below, oblivious to the storm brewing in this high-rise room. She leans against the cool glass of the window, her body language a symphony of playful seduction. Her voice is a low, teasing whisper that seems to vibrate in the air between them. Hey, let's be frank, she begins, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Did you fall in love with me a long time ago? He stands rigid, his face a mask of stoicism, but the slight tremor in his hands gives him away. She presses on, her lips curling into a knowing smile. Was it that day, 12 years ago, when you applied medicine to my back? Her fingers, light as a feather, trace the line of his jaw, feeling the muscle clench beneath her touch. A faint blush creeps up his neck, a telltale sign of his cracking composure. Right, she purrs, you are so bad, Ju Mang. Her accusation hangs in the air, sweet and venomous. Not only did you see me when I was exposed, but you kept thinking of me in your heart all these years. His eyes widen, a flicker of panic in their depths. The blush on his face deepens into a fierce crimson. I didn't, he bites out, his voice rougher than he intended, but she just laughs, a soft, breathy sound. She brings a finger to his lips, silencing any further protests. You liar, she whispers, her gaze hypnotic. I'm perfectly clear on what goes on in the minds of men. Her own mind is a whirlwind, asterisk he's trying so hard to hide it. It's almost adorable. Asterisk your mind, she continues, leaning closer, her breath ghosting across his skin, is full of evil intentions. I said I didn't, he finally explodes, his control shattering like glass. The denial is too loud, too desperate. He looks away, his jaw tight with frustration. At that time, he starts, his voice dropping to a raw emotional murmur. You look so cold. His eyes find hers again, and in them she sees not lust but a deep aching sincerity. I just wanted to hug you and warm you. The playful smirk on her lips falters, her heart gives an unexpected flutter. Was that it? Was it not desire but concern? A warmth spreads through her chest, a feeling she hadn't realized she was missing. Before she can process it, he grabs her, his frustration melting into something else entirely. Kai Xing, you? He growls, his face just inches from hers. And then his lips crash down on hers. A sudden boom echoes from outside as the first firework explodes in the night sky, painting the room in a shower of colored light. The kiss is desperate, hungry, a decade of unspoken feelings pouring out in a single breathtaking moment. As the sky erupts in a kaleidoscope of light, he pulls back just enough to whisper against her lips, his voice thick with emotion, you are so cute. Days earlier, the city buzzes with her name. Giant billboards flash her image, the celebrated actress Kai Xing. During a televised interview, a reporter's question hangs in the air. Scriptwriter Maisie saw your photo in a bar and described you as a white camellia. What do you think of his comment? Kai Xing remains poised, a picture of grace. I don't care about the comments on the internet, she replies coolly. The reporter presses, bringing up a quote about how a real actress should be beautiful but humble, that narcissistic beauty isn't adorable. A serene smile plays on Kai Xing's lips. It's impossible, she states, her voice smooth as silk. In the back of a luxury car, her manager, Yan, watches the interview on a tablet, her face contorting in horror. Bullsh asterisk T, she shrieks, nearly dropping the device. Even if you don't like the actress, don't put it so directly, you'll be on the trending topics and countless netizens will scold you. Kai Xing, lounging by the window, simply pops a lollipop into her mouth, unbothered. Isn't it good? I thought you guys would love to see my name on the headlines. Yan sighs, defeated. The crazy fan who tailed you and broke your arm still hasn't been found, she reminds her sternly. I'm looking for a bodyguard for you now. Kai Xing's eyes light up with a mischievous glint. I have only one requirement then, she says before listing off a series of demands. Bold guy out, ugly guy out, he should be taller than me, can't be too old. If no one can meet my requirements, just find me a female bodyguard. Yan's eye twitches in fury. Do you call all these just one requirement? She tosses a stack of resumes onto Kai Xing's lap. Kai Xing flips through them with an air of utter boredom, her expression dismissive. Alas, no handsome guys. She sighs, then her fingers stop, her eyes lock onto a single photo, a ghost of a smile touches her lips. This one. Yan leans over to see. The resume is for a man named Ju Mang. Yan's mind goes into overdrive. Asterisk kiss, no way, he is so damn cute. We want a bodyguard, not a kept man. I must persuade her to give up the thought. Asterisk, she puts on her sweetest, most coaxing voice. Babe, let's change to another one. She pleads, you haven't been in a relationship for 2 years, and if you hire such a handsome bodyguard, people will misunderstand. Kai Xing cuts her off with a wave of her hand, her expression unreadable. You overthought it, he is 6 years old younger than me. She leans back, her long hair cascading over the seat. He is stubborn, unromantic, and never tells you what he thinks, she muses, a strange look in her eyes. How could I fall in love with such a guy? I'm not that tasteless. Yan's eyes narrow with suspicion. You know him, is he your ex or something, or maybe your first love? Kai Xing's smile vanishes, replaced by a chilling coldness. Her gaze drifts to the window, but she's not seeing the city, she's seeing a memory. A dark shadow crosses her face as she utters a single word. Enemy, her voice is low, but her resolve is ironclad. I only accept him as my bodyguard, no one else. Meanwhile, in a sleek modern office, Yan sits across from a man whose very presence commands the room. It's Ju Mang. When Yan finally reveals the name of her client, his professional demeanor cracks. Kai Xing, the name escapes his lips like a ghost. For a moment, he's frozen, the pen in his hand hovering over the paperwork. Then his face hardens. He places the photo of Kai Xing face down on the table. Sorry, I'm not a nanny. He stands, his back rigid as he turns away. What's more, due to my personal affection to the client, I don't accept this job. He strides toward the door without a backward glance. Yan is stunned but also secretly thrilled. Corey, thank God. As Mang walks down the hall, a commotion erupts from a nearby office. Why is her the client? Why did you change the female lead? The voice is shrill, angry. It's Kai Xing. I got the role through my own effort. How could you replace me? Mang pauses, his hand on the doorknob. Inside the office, a man in a pinstripe suit, Lin Shuchuan, looks at her with cold disdain. Why didn't you go to the party yesterday? He asks. Kai Xing's eyes flash with defiance. Lin Shuchuan, you know the reason. If it was just a normal party, why would I refuse? He slams a folder on the desk. Since you are not obedient, you should get some punishment, he sneers, his voice dripping with menace. You can't play in Quaking Earth. If you refuse the other movie I arrange, you won't have any work this year. Rage boils in her chest. I broke up with you, so you want to take revenge, right? He pauses, his back to her. She presses on, her voice shaking but firm. I broke out of your control and ruined your plan, so you are very angry. Instead of trying to get back at me, we'd better separate decently. A sly, dangerous smile spreads across her face as she leans in. Since we are partners, why don't we? Bang, he spins around and slams her against the wall. His face a mask of pure fury. Shut up, he roars. She glares back, tears of pain and anger stinging her eyes. What, wanna beat me again? He grabs her by the throat, his fingers digging into her skin. You've learned to talk back to fight back, huh? He snarls, his face inches from hers. He glances at a small cactus on the desk, a cruel idea forming in his eyes. I know it all the time. Why didn't you fight back then? What's the point of struggling now? Her defiance crumbles, replaced by a raw, heartbreaking vulnerability. I loved you at that time, she whispers, the words tasting like ash, so I didn't fight back. Her eyes, shimmering with unshed tears, meet his. I regret it very much now. I shouldn't have shown you any mercy. The door clicks open. Standing in the doorway, exuding an aura of calm, protective strength, is Mang. Hi, he says, his voice steady, his eyes locked on Kai Xing. I'm Mang, your bodyguard. He steps into the room, a silent guardian. I'll protect your safety from today on. Kai Xing stares at him, her mind reeling. When did he come here? Did he hear everything I just said to Lin Shuchuan? Mang's gaze drops to the angry red marks on her arm, his expression hardening. The wound on her arm. Did that bastard do this to her? Trying to reclaim some semblance of control. Kai Xing pulls away from the wall, her movements shaky. She pulls a cigarette from her purse, her fingers trembling slightly as she holds it to her lips. Hey, she says, her voice a little too bright. Do you have a lighter? He doesn't answer, he just stares at her, his expression unreadable. Aren't you surprised? She pushes, a brittle smile on her face. Just all right, you also recognized me, didn't you? His eyes. She thought, a wave of nostalgia washing over her. His eyes are still the same, it's the same as when I met him the first time. The memory floods back, sharp and painful, 12 years ago. Much younger Mang, only 12 years old, stands in a dusty courtyard holding a basketball. He sees an 18-year-old Kai Xing, her face etched with worry. Hey, who are you looking for? He asks. She's looking for her father. Kai Rong, she answers, but the boy just ignores her, turning his attention to a stray cat that has wandered by. He must be the son of Kai Rong's mistress. She thinks bitterly. Brat, do you think I can do nothing to you since you ignore me? Suddenly a monstrous roar shatters the quiet afternoon. Kai Rong, get out now, give the money back to me. A disheveled man storms out of the apartment, his eyes wild. He grabs Kai Xing by the hair, dragging her brutally. Lil SL*T, how dare you ask me for money? I'll beat you to death. But she fights back, her voice filled with desperate courage. Come on, bring it on. Even if you beat me to death today, I'll get the money my aunt gave me back. Her father's face twists into a hideous sneer. Your aunt is a B*TCH. She helped your mother cheat with other men and hid it from me. The words buzz in her ears, a sickening poison. He grabs a pair of scissors from a nearby table. Do you want to hook up with men like that SL*T? I'll cut your hair. I'll see how you seduce those guys. A woman screams for him to stop, but he doesn't listen. A blood-curdling scream tears from Kai Xing's throat as she feels the cold metal against her skin. In a desperate act of defiance, she sinks her teeth into his hand. He howls in pain. Shoving her away, get away, I must kill her today, he screams, lunging for her. But before he can reach her, a small body slams into him, knocking him off balance. It's Mang. He stands between Kai Xing and her monstrous father, holding a baseball bat with a white-knuckled grip. His young face is a mask of cold fury. Get lost, he growls, his voice low and dangerous. Later, in a small, dimly lit room, Kai Xing huddles in a corner, drenched and shivering after her father threw a bucket of water on her. Humiliation burns in her gut. *F***CK, all those people were laughing at me, *. The door creaks open and Mang steps inside, carrying a first aid kit. My mother went to buy some food, just stay here for a while, he says quietly. Let me help you disinfect the wound on your back. She just nods, too exhausted to argue. But as he starts to tend to her, a spark of her old fire returns. She's your mother, not my mother, why should I listen to her and wait here? The defiant thought dies as quickly as it came, replaced by a crushing wave of despair. However, where can I go? The sharp sting of antiseptic on her raw skin makes her hiss in pain. I'm sorry, he stammers, his touch surprisingly gentle. Some hair dropped into your wound. Let me pull them out with the nipper first. I'll be gentle, try to endure the pain. She watches him from the corner of her eye, his brow furrowed in concentration. I thought the guy would only be gentle to animals. She thinks, a strange warmth blooming in her chest. After a moment, she turns to face him, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Hey, she says softly. He looks up confused. Do you know what you should do when you see a naked woman? His face instantly turns beet red, his eyes wide with shock. She grins, enjoying his flustered state. You gotta get her a coat, she finishes for him. He scrambles to his feet, stammering, "WL, I'll get you a coat." As he practically flees the room, his face burning with embarrassment. The memory fades, leaving a faint smile on her lips in the present. Meng gently takes the unlit cigarette from her mouth. According to the contract, you should quit smoking before you join the crew of Sweetness in You, he says, his voice flat and professional. She raises an eyebrow, her playful demeanor returning. Are you a bodyguard or a nanny? She retorts. He meets her gaze, his expression unyielding. It depends on you, he replies coolly. Just then her phone buzzes. It's Yan. Hey Yan, your enemy said that due to his personal affection for you, he can't be your bodyguard, Yan reports breathlessly. I found you a new guy, come have a look later. Kaizing hangs up without another word. She turns to Meng, who has his back to her, ready to leave. Hey you, she calls out. He stops. She approaches him, her heels clicking softly on the floor until she's standing right in front of him, invading his personal space. She looks up at him through her lashes, her voice dropping to a seductive whisper. What do you mean by your personal affection for me? A slow, knowing smile spreads across her face as she leans in even closer. What personal affection do you have for me, Meng? His voice was a low murmur, a challenge that hung in the air between them as he asked what personal affection she could possibly have for him. Kaizing's heart fluttered, her lips parting as she leaned closer, ready to answer, ready to close the gap between them. But before she could utter a single word, a frantic sound shattered the moment. Clop, 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 the sharp, furious sound of heels storming towards them. It was her manager, Chang Zioyan, her face a mask of pure panic. Oh my goodness, her mind screamed. They hooked up so soon, this can't be happening. She burst into the room like a hurricane, grabbing Kai Xing by the arm and yanking her away from the man who was clearly a bad influence. A tiny whimper escaped Kai Xing's lips as she was pulled back. Zioyan's voice was a furious hiss, her glasses slipping down her nose. How dare you flirt with men here? She seethed, shaking a stack of papers in her other hand. What is wrong with you? She shoved the papers towards Kai Xing. I chose a new bodyguard for you. I'm sure he meets your requirements perfectly. But before Kai Xing could even protest, a calm, steady hand reached out and took the documents. It was Meng. He glanced at the papers, then his dark eyes met Kai Xing's, a silent message passing between them. Then with a voice devoid of emotion, he declared, I accept the job. He gave a curt nod, his words hanging in the stunned silence. Hope we have a good partnership. And just like that, he turned and walked away, leaving chaos in his wake. Zioyan's jaw dropped. She turned on Kai Xing, shaking her shoulders violently. What the hell did you do? She shrieked. Kai Xing, flustered, could only stammer that she hadn't done anything. But as her manager raged, she peeked around her, a small, secretive smile playing on her lips as she watched Meng's retreating back. Oh, this was going to be fun. Her mind hummed with delicious possibilities. We have a long, long time to go. Later that day, back in the comfort of her own home, Kai Xing lounged on the sofa, picking at a grape. Meng stood nearby, a silent, imposing figure. She decided to pick up right where they'd been so rudely interrupted. Let's continue to talk about the topic before, she said, her voice silky. What did you mean by your personal affection for me? What affection do you have for me? He turned, his expression unreadable. I know you, he stated simply, his voice flat, and something unhappy happened between us. He held a walkie-talkie, his posture rigid. Was that all he was going to say? She pressed further, a playful pout on her lips. That's all. Hey, why don't you answer me? Do you have a girlfriend then? He remained stubbornly silent. A wicked little idea sparked in her mind. Your attitude may make me misunderstand that you have a secret crush on me, she teased. His reply was ice. I'm not familiar with you. Meanwhile, her two other bodyguards, the twins Yu and Hinayan, were hiding just out of sight, whispering frantically. Did they know each other before? I didn't hear Meng mention it. Elsewhere, Zioyan was already nursing a migraine, muttering to herself. The big star is gonna make trouble again. Kai Xing scoffed, getting up and walking to her front door. Not familiar with me, you are lying, she said, her finger tracing the keypad lock. A mischievous glint entered her eyes. You'd better change the code each time you enter the door. He sighed, the first crack in his stoic facade. That's too complicated. I can't remember it, he said, his tone softening slightly. He reminded her that the person who had tailed her still hadn't been arrested. A flicker of concern crossed his face. Let me help you, he offered gently. A genuine smile broke out on her face. Hooray, she cheered. From their hiding spot, the twins exchanged a look. Well, it looks like they are more than familiar. The constant back and forth was giving Zioyan a splitting headache. I must keep her mouth shut outside, she thought desperately. Just then her phone buzzed, the ringing cutting through the tense air. She answered it, her professional mask slipping into place. Hello? But as she listened, her eyes widened in shock behind her glasses. A gasp escaped her lips. She whirled around, her voice sharp with urgency. Zing, we gotta rush to the company now. There was trouble brewing. Something was terribly wrong with the crew of Sweetness in You. They rushed out, the clomp of their heels echoing in the pristine lobby of the company building. Inside, Kai Xing stood tall in a stunning, form-fitting black dress, looking every bit the superstar she was. The shoot of Sweetness in You stopped? She asked, a hint of hope in her voice. Can I continue to act the role in Quaking Earth? Zioyan shot her a withering look. In your dreams, I heard that the male lead Yang Yi drove the car after drinking last night and he had a car accident. The news was a bombshell. There was a girl in his car and it said the police searched for drugs in their car. The things went viral on the internet. I guess Yang Yi can't act in the movie anymore. Kai Xing's mind was already racing. This was a disaster but also an opportunity. Who does the company plan to replace Yang Yi with? She asked, her eyes sharp. At that exact moment, the elevator doors slid open with a soft ding. A man stood there silhouetted against the light. His voice was smooth and familiar as he called her name. Kai Xing? The man stepped out and Kai Xing's breath caught in her throat. It was Yun Kiyoshi, the renowned actor, her celebrity crush, my Prince Charming. Her inner fangirl screamed. What is he doing here? He smiled, a devastatingly charming expression that made her knees weak. Hi Kai Xing, he greeted warmly. I specially came to pick you up for the meeting. He leaned in closer, his proximity making her head spin. Meeting, you and I? She stammered, completely starstruck. From his post by the wall, Zhu Meng watched the exchange, his face hardening into a thunderous scowl. He looked like a furious chibai, his disapproval radiating in waves. Later that night, Kai Xing was back home, but her mind was still at the company. She scrolled through her phone, stopping on a handsome photo of Yuan Kiyoshi. This one looks so cute, she giggled to herself, saving the picture. A weary Zai Yuan tucked her into bed like a child, sighing at the star's antics. The next morning, however, Kai Xing woke up in a foul mood, glaring at her phone. Zai Yuan, in a desperate attempt to control her, had changed her wallpaper to a picture of her own scolding face with the caption, I love my fans, stay away from gossip. Ugh, I don't want to use the phone anymore, she fumed. Back at the company, Yun Kiyoshi was explaining the situation. When Yang Yi had the accident last night, I was drinking with Lin Shuchuan, so I was pulled to resolve the emergency by him. He then turned his charming smile on Kai Xing. I heard that you would participate in the drama, so I agreed. Kai Xing's heart did a little flip. Really? She asked, her voice breathy. Am I so important to you? He chuckled softly. Sure, I'm a big fan of yours. I also watched the movies you acted in, such as Tiger Teeth, Winter, and Lady Lillian. He looked at her with genuine admiration. You look gorgeous in Lady Lillian. Aoya nearly had a heart attack. Oh no, Lady Lillian is a film that was universally panned. It's a work Kai Xing never wants to mention. Will she be mad? But to her manager's shock, Kai Xing just laughed. You like it? I have the unabridged version. How about we watch it together? Yun Kiyoshi's eyes lit up. How about we exchange our WeChat? Okay. As they exchanged details, Zhu Meng's internal monologue was a low growl. Tusk, what an incautious girl. How can she give her WeChat to someone else? He stepped forward, his body subtly shielding Kai Xing as he pulled her back slightly. Stop smiling, he murmured, his voice a low warning meant only for her. Don't forget who the female lead of the movie is. Kai Xing's smile didn't falter. I know Yan Jian, right? The name hung in the air. The twins, ever the observers, whispered to each other from a distance. Who is Yan Jian? Then they remembered, an old interview flashed in their minds. Yan Jian was the very actress Kai Xing had publicly mocked for not being beautiful. Just then, a woman with an air of cold elegance walked in. Oh, Jian, someone called out. The tension in the room skyrocketed as Yan Jian approached, her smile as fake as a $3 bill. It's been a while, she said to Kai Xing, her eyes flicking over her outfit. Why are you still taking the same bag? Before Kai Xing could retort, Yan Jian turned to Yuan Kiyoshi, her voice dripping with sweetness. Kiyoshi, your sister bought a horse ranch the other day, didn't she? She asked when he planned to invite them for a visit, but Yuan Kiyoshi smoothly intercepted the social jab. I bought it, he corrected gently. How about this weekend? My sister hired 2 French cooks and their cooking skills are pretty good. He then turned his attention back to Kai Xing. Can you ride horses? Kai Xing saw her opening and seized it, her voice turning flirtatious. Will you teach me? He smiled. Sure. As this little drama unfolded, the rest of the room was a buzz of networking and blatant displays of wealth. People chatted about buying vineyards in Europe and choosing elite primary schools for their children. Zhu Meng stood apart from the crowd, his gaze sweeping over the scene with disdain. Looks like the meeting of the crew is just like a party, he thought. These people are all trying to show off their strength so that they can overawe others. His eyes landed on Kai Xing. She was on her phone, smiling at a photo of her and Yuan Kiyoshi. A chibai version of Zhu Meng looked on, thoroughly unimpressed. But only her, he mused, watching her carefully. She doesn't talk to anyone else except for Yuan Kiyoshi and Chang Zaiyan. A strange thought occurred to him. She doesn't seem to have someone close. As if sensing his stare, Kai Xing looked up, her eyes meeting his across the crowded room. A moment passed between them and then she walked towards him, her expression serious. What? She asked, getting straight to the point. Do you want to ask me why I don't talk to them and try to get some opportunities for myself? He didn't answer, but she continued anyway, her voice low and fierce. I don't have any background, nor do I have anyone to back me up. I have nothing to show off with them. Her eyes, usually so full of mischief, now burned with a raw, unshakable determination. I only want to conquer them with my acting skills. Thump, his heart skipped a beat, a faint smile touched his lips and a blush crept up the tips of his ears. Why did he smile so, he thought, feeling suddenly flustered. I'm so careless. If someone else saw this, I'm afraid there would be gossip again. He was already too late, their quiet moment had been noticed. A memory surfaced, unbidden. 12 years ago, a much younger Zhu Meng, his cheeks flushed red, awkwardly handing his jacket to a shivering Kai Xing. Thanks, she'd whispered, his sister had teased him mercilessly. Hey, what's wrong? Why did you blush while staring at a coat? Did you hook up with girls at school? I'll kick you. Back in the present, Kai Xing collapsed onto her couch at home, utterly drained. It's so draining dealing with those people. Home, sweet home. She looked around. Where is he, Nyan, and he you? Zhu Meng appeared with a tray. The property staff said it had to be put on records if we wanted to install a camera, so they went there. On the TV, an interview with Yan Jian began to play. Kai Xing groaned dramatically, burying her face in a pillow. Ugh, it's her again. I bet I will have a nightmare tonight. Zhu Meng looked at her, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Do you hate her that much? Kai Xing paused, considering his question. Do I hate her that much? She mused. As Zhu Meng walked past, he peeked at her, a strange expression on his face. A sudden wild thought struck her. Does he? She sat up, her eyes locking onto his. Hey, she called out, her voice sharp. Do you like her? Just as the question left her lips, the sky outside exploded in a burst of color. Bam, bam, fireworks. Zhu Meng was drawn to the window, completely missing her question. Fireworks now? He murmured, distracted. With a click, Kai Xing shut the blinds, plunging the room into intimate darkness lit only by the distant flashes of light. She strode over to him, grabbed his tie, and pulled him down until their faces were inches apart. The air crackled with tension. Tell me, she whispered, her voice a seductive demand. Which one is prettier, me or her? He was momentarily stunned, caught in her trap. Which one? He stammered. Tell me, she insisted, her grip tightening. He looked away, a dark blush creeping up his neck as he finally mumbled, you. His mind was racing. What is she doing again? Did I do anything wrong? But she wasn't satisfied with his one-word answer. I'm not buying it, she purred, leaning even closer. Give me more details, tell me which part of me is pretty. A playful smile danced on her lips. This is actually a cute position, poor him, no wonder girls like this. Do you feel me domineering? She whispered, her breath warm against his skin. Or is your heart racing? He couldn't take it anymore. Let go, he managed to say. But then a flash of a memory of a younger girl with the same determined eyes stopped him cold. Her expression softened, the teasing gone, replaced by genuine curiosity. Which part of me is pretty? She asked again, her voice barely a whisper. He looked at her, truly looked at her, and his resolve crumbled. His voice was thick with an emotion he could no longer hide. You are always pretty. She was taken aback by his sincerity. Always? Since when? A slow, teasing smile returned to her face. So you've thought I was pretty since we first met? Then why didn't you talk to me properly? You glared at me. She poked his chest playfully. Oh, I see, she continued, her voice dripping with mock realization. You started to think about me when you applied the medicine to me. You saw me with my top off and you imagined, boys, I know exactly what is on your mind. All dirty, filthy things, slap. He knocked her hand away, his entire face burning red with indignation. I am not, he growled, his voice strained. I am not one of those disgusting men. He took a deep breath, his gaze softening as he remembered that day. You looked cold, a vision of her small and shivering flashed before his eyes. I thought I could give you a hug and warm you up, he confessed, his voice barely audible. And then he closed the distance between them. His lips met hers in a kiss that was both hesitant and desperate, a release of years of unspoken feelings. Outside, the fireworks continued to paint the night sky, their explosive beauty a perfect mirror to the storm of emotions erupting between them. Later they lay tangled in the sheets, the world outside forgotten. She traced the lines of his chest, her voice a sleepy murmur. You weren't this muscular. A soft smile played on her lips. And now I like your muscles, he shifted, his voice rough. Are you mad? She just hummed in response. He leaned down, capturing her lips again, whispering her name against her skin. Zhu Meng, you're so cute. She swatted at him weakly. Just shut up. The next morning, Kai Xing woke with a start. He sat up, his head pounding. That kiss is so strong, he muttered, rubbing his temples. A cheerful voice cut through his daze. What's wrong? He looked up to see Kai Xing, already dressed and munching on an apple, looking as if nothing had happened. You scared me, he thought, his heart still hammering. In a little side story, after Kai Xing had fallen asleep, the twins were in their pajamas watching TV. On screen was an old drama showing a younger Kai Xing crying beautifully. Wow, He Nian breathed. She's so beautiful even when crying. Suddenly, a dark presence loomed behind them. It was Zhu Meng. A memory of him calling Kai Xing cute flashed in his mind. He leaned over them, his face shadowed, his voice dangerously low. Am I cute? The twins froze in terror. Help, what am I supposed to say? One thought frantically. What kind of question is that? The other echoed in his mind. A hazy dream of pink roses and soft whispers, a voice murmuring, Zhu Meng, you're so cute. His heart thrummed in his chest as her hands cupped his face, her body pressing against his under the soft white sheets. The scent of her, sweet and intoxicating, filled his senses as their bare feet tangled together, floating in a sea of petals. Her name was a breath on his lips. Zhu Meng, the voice called again, more insistent this time. Zhu Meng, hey, wake up. With a sudden jolt, his eyes snapped open. The dream shattered, leaving behind a phantom warmth and a racing pulse. He sat up abruptly, his mind reeling. What was that? His hand flew to his forehead, his fingers trembling slightly as he tried to process the lingering sensations. That kiss, it felt so real, so strong, it scared him. He turned his head and there she was, standing in the morning light, a vision of casual beauty. She was munching on an apple, her long hair shimmering as she leaned against the glass door, her shirt loosely worn over a black top, revealing her long, slender legs. A gentle smile played on her lips as she looked at him, her eyes sparkling with amusement. She asked him what was wrong, if he'd had a nightmare. A nightmare? His mind flashed back to the dream, the softness of her skin, the warmth of her lips. His ears burned a bright red. He quickly covered his face, mumbling that it wasn't a nightmare. A knowing, playful smirk spread across her face. Oh, she purred, her voice dripping with mischief, so it's not a nightmare, but a wild dream. She leaned in closer, the scent of her apple and perfume making his head spin. Her finger came up to gently press against his lips, a silent reminder of the kiss that started it all. A wild dream, she whispered, her eyes locking with his, caused by a simple kiss. His composure finally cracked. He swatted her hand away, his voice tight with annoyance as he avoided her gaze. He got to his feet, demanding to know if she did that often, if she just went around kissing people like that. Kai Xing didn't even flinch, she just tilted her head, a picture of innocence, and asked if he meant that kiss. She explained coolly that in every show she acts in, she has to kiss someone, and in relationships, she kisses people too. His jaw tightened. Oh, really? She could see the irritation radiating off him. Her mind, ever the actress, began to analyze him. She could tell he was annoyed. I was even nominated for Best Actress for my ability to read people. But her thoughts drifted. She couldn't help but admire him even when he was pouting. If he were properly dressed, he would look even hotter than Yun Kyoshi. An image of him in a tailored suit flashed through her mind, the crisp white shirt, the sharp lines of the jacket, the way the dark trousers hugged his long legs. What a pity, she thought with a sigh, that he only works as a bodyguard. A mischievous idea popped into her head. She sidled up to him, asking playfully if he'd ever had a girlfriend, what kind of girl he liked. He shut her down immediately, his voice cold as he stated it was personal and none of her business. She puffed out her cheeks in a cute pout. HMPH, fine, be that way. She turned on her heel, announcing that he needed to get dressed. Zaoyan wanted him to escort her to class. As he dressed, his mind was a fortress. I have to be careful at any minute. I can't expose my weak points. Especially not to her. Outside the building, under the golden morning sun, Zaoyan was waiting. She apologized profusely to her dance teacher, explaining that the crew had called about a last-minute dinner party. She promised to come some other time. The teacher asked if her dance class was no longer important. Kai Xing's expression shifted, a shadow passing over her features as she took a sip of her drink. She confessed that she never attended the class because she liked dancing. She was only there because she needed to dance for the film. But now the film is gone, she doesn't have to learn it anymore. Jumeng watched her from a distance, a question forming in his mind. Is dancing really that cheerful? For a moment, Kai Xing was lost in the past. Why was her mom so obsessed with it? The memory of a woman in a traditional gown, flowers in her hair, flickered behind her eyes. A voice suddenly cut through the haze, calling her name. Kai Xing. She turned to see Yun Kyoshi waving at her, dressed in trendy streetwear, a bucket hat and mask covering his famous face. What was he doing here? He grinned, explaining he was there to pick her up, that everyone else was already there. How did he even know where she was? His answer was simple. He'd bribed Zaoyan. At the mention of another man intruding on his duty, a dark aura instantly surrounded Jumeng. His fist clenched at his side, the sound of his knuckles cracking echoing the fury in his eyes. He was beyond upset. Kai Xing, sensing the tension, quickly told Yun Kyoshi she'd go in her own car, adding with a playful glance towards Jumeng, or my bodyguard will be upset. In the car, she leaned over the seat, her expression sweet and triumphant. I'm really sweet, right? She chirped. Jumeng just stared ahead, his expression unreadable. They arrived at a cafe, the two men flanking her like sentinels. Yun Kyoshi leaned in, whispering that her bodyguard was good. As they walked, fans suddenly spotted Yun Kyoshi, their excited whispers turning into a frenzy. He politely greeted them, asking them not to scream as he had a dinner with the crew. While all eyes were on the celebrity, a shadowy figure emerged from the crowd, a woman with cold, dead eyes. Hello, she said, her voice flat. She extended a hand, asking if she could shake Kai Xing's hand. Of course, Kai Xing replied with a professional smile, reaching out her own hand. But just as their fingers were about to touch, another woman screamed, wait. Her eyes were wide with terror, fixed on the attacker's other hand. A glint of metal flashed in the light, a sharp, pointed blade. It plunged downwards, aimed straight for Kai Xing's heart. A panicked shout ripped through the air. Kai Xing, careful. As chaos erupted around her, Kai Xing's mind flew back in time. The pouring rain, the jeers of boys surrounding her, their cruel hands grabbing her, pinning her down. Let go of me, she had screamed, her voice raw with terror. Help, but no one came. They laughed, their faces twisted with malice. You better be good, one sneered, ripping at her school uniform. With a surge of adrenaline, she broke free, grabbing a box cutter from the ground. Go to hell, she shrieked, slashing at her tormentor. He screamed in pain as blood bloomed on his shirt, but his friend was already swinging a wooden bat. A sickening swoosh cut through the air, followed by a dull thud as it connected with her body. Pain exploded through her, her vision blurred. The ringleader smirked, snatching the cutter from her grasp. Surrender, Kai Xing, he taunted, holding the blade to her throat. Nobody will come to help, you know the reason, don't you? His voice was a venomous whisper. Everyone in this country knows your father and your mother. One is a loser who ruined another's family. His words were like acid, burning away her defenses. And the other is a bitch. Nobody will take you seriously. I can do whatever I want to you. His hand clamped over her mouth, stifling her sobs. You can tell them, he hissed, his face a shadowy nightmare, but they will say that you are just like your mother. A chorus of mocking laughter echoed in her ears, drowning her in a sea of despair. A scream tore from her throat, a raw cry of agony and rage. But just as the bat was about to swing again, a figure shot out of the rain, grabbing the bully's arm. Who the hell are you? He snarled. The boy holding Kai Xing hesitated. Mang, should we stop now? He stammered. No, the leader roared, but it was too late. The newcomer, a boy with fierce, protective eyes, was already there. He looked down at her, her face streaked with blood and tears. His voice was quiet but steady. Are you all right? The memory shattered as a familiar voice screamed her name in the present. Kai Xing, it was Jumeng. Pain, sharp and searing, erupted in her chest. She looked down to see blood staining her gray sweater, her own hand covered in crimson. The world spun. Jumeng was a blur of motion, tackling the attacker to the ground. Zaoyan was screaming hysterically, ordering someone named Yu to call the police and take Kai Xing to the hospital. Yun Kyoshi stood frozen, his face pale with shock. Yu grabbed Kai Xing's arm, trying to pull her towards the screeching car. Xing, let's get out of here first, she urged. But Kai Xing fought against her, her eyes fixed on the struggle. Wait, she cried, pushing Yu away. Wait, Zhu Meng is still there? In the scuffle, the attacker managed to swing the blade one last time, slashing it across Zhu Meng's ear. A gasp escaped Kai Xing's lips as she saw the flash of steel and the spray of blood. Zhu Meng, she screamed, her voice filled with anguish. Inside the car, she frantically begged the driver, He Nian, stop the car. But he refused, his face grim. Meng said that we have to ensure your safety no matter what happens, he said, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. You need to have some faith in Meng. Through the rear window, she watched as Zhu Meng stood tall, his foot planted on the subdued attacker's back, his tie loosened and held like a weapon in his hand. Her heart clenched, Zhu Meng, their eyes met across the distance. He gave her a small, reassuring look, mouthing the words, I'll wait for you at the hospital. The hospital was a sterile white blur. Zaiyan paced back and forth, ranting, if there's some kind of virus on that blade, I'm gonna kill myself right here, and you and Kiashi, he took you there and then he just ran away alone. Kai Xing barely heard her thoughts consumed by one person. Suddenly he was there, rushing down the hallway towards her. Are you all right? He asked, his voice rough with concern. Your ear? She reached for him, her fingers brushing against his cheek. Let me see, she whispered, her touch gentle as she examined the bandage on his ear. I'm fine, he insisted, though his eyes never left hers. Ahem, Zaiyan cleared her throat loudly, breaking the spell. Thank goodness that it's not your face, Kai Xing said, flustered, trying to sound casual. He looked confused. Does my face matter that much? Of course, she chirped, I like your pretty face. Just then He Nian appeared, bowing his head in shame. Meng, I'm sorry, I should have protected Xing well, but I failed. And you got hurt? Zaiyan's eyes narrowed with suspicion. I thought he was your enemy, she said to Kai Xing. Why do you care so much about him? I am not, Kai Xing retorted, her face flushing. I'm getting revenge, but Zaiyan wasn't buying it. She made a decision. I'll contact other bodyguard companies, she declared firmly. From now on, Zhu Meng is no longer your bodyguard. It's the company's decision, Zhu Meng said, his voice low and steady, and it's also mine. Zaiyan pressed on, telling Kai Xing about Yu and Kiashi's overwhelming security team. I don't want them, Kai Xing said, her voice shaking with emotion. Zhu Meng's heart sank. He asked quietly, am I getting fired? This is not up to you, Zaiyan snapped. But Kai Xing had reached her breaking point. She turned to face her manager, her eyes blazing. I don't want anyone else. Her voice rang through the hallway, raw and desperate. I want him. The words hung in the air, echoing in the sudden silence. Zhu Meng was completely stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at her. Just then, her phone began to ring, shattering the tense moment. Zaiyan glanced at the screen. Lin Shuchuan, why does he call you? She asked, explaining that he'd been contacting her about work since their breakup. An irritated scowl crossed Kai Xing's face. Who knows? She muttered, answering the call. The clap of her boots echoed in the hallway as she marched towards his office. She threw the door open with a bang. Lin Shuchuan was sitting there looking smug in a pinstripe suit. He didn't even look up, just gestured dismissively at Zhu Meng. Out the bodyguard, he commanded. You don't belong here. Kai Xing planted her feet, her arms crossed defiantly. He has to stay, she said, her voice like ice. He must stay here for my safety. A cruel smirk touched Lin Shuchuan's lips. For your safety, he drawled, his eyes raking over Zhu Meng. From head to toe. Is that your new toy? Zhu Meng tensed, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. Keep your mouth shut, Kai Xing warned, her voice dangerously low, if you don't know how to talk. Lin Shuchuan leaned back unbothered. He explained that Fengchuan Media had invested in Quaking Earth, and since she had suffered, the company had agreed to give her a role in the film. She scoffed, you compromised, but does the crew still want me? Zaiyan told me they looked disgusted when we went back on our word. Thank you and Kiashi, he said smoothly, revealing that Yuan and Pei Yuan, the film's director, grew up together. Pei Yuan, Kai Xing repeated, her eyes widening in realization. She's the director of Quaking Earth. Calm down, Lin Shuchuan said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. We have a deal to make. He laid out his poison-laced offer with a flick of his finger. She could have the role, a new contract, even her own studio. But there were conditions. She had to keep her acting in Sweetness in You a secret from the Quaking Earth crew, and she couldn't tell anyone about Quaking Earth except for Yuan Kiashi. If anything went wrong, the company would accept no objections. He leaned closer, his voice a silken trap. What do you think, honey? He was boxing her in, setting her up for a fall. Dare you make the deal with me? Just then, the door slammed open again. It was Zaiyan, her face a mask of fury. Lin Shuchuan, is this why you called her directly? You are trying to ruin her. Did you forget who the producer of Sweetness in You is? He simply smirked, taking a sip from his glass. I didn't. It's Chen Luoyang. What? Zaiyan's voice trembled with rage. Then you must know that he and Pei Yuan are enemies. You let Kai Xing take these 2 films at a time. The horrifying truth dawned on her. He smiled, a predator who had cornered his prey. Zaiyan's face went pale. You want her to be banned from showbiz. A melody drifts on the warm, sun-drenched air, a sweet and gentle tune from 24 years ago. It floats from a brightly lit room, a place of golden light and happy memories. A tiny girl just 6 years old sits on the floor, hugging a cheerful yellow pillow, her wide, innocent eyes fixed on the scene before her. This is little Kai Xing, and she is watching her mother Sun Wanwan dance. Her mother is radiant, her body moving with a grace that seems to defy gravity. She is in the arms of a man, her dance instructor, Zhang Ying. They spin together, a whirlwind of white fabric and joyful laughter. A single thought fills the little girl's mind as she gazes at the woman who is her entire world. Asterisk my mom, asterisk her mother's face is alight with a happiness so pure, so brilliant, it makes the sunlight seem dim. Flowers seem to bloom in the very air around her. Asterisk my mom looks so pretty and happy, asterisk Kai Xing thinks, her own small heart swelling with love and admiration. The dance ends, and little Kai Xing scrambles to her feet, holding up a heart-shaped box. She proudly announces that Mr. Zhang gave her this box of chocolate. But as her mother reaches for it, a sudden sharp noise shatters the peaceful moment. Bam. What was that? Kai Xing freezes, her eyes wide with confusion. She peeks around the corner, her curiosity getting the better of her, and then she sees it, a sight her 6-year-old mind can't possibly comprehend. Her mother and Mr. Zhang, their bodies pressed close, their lips locked together. Her world tilts on its axis. Her breath catches in her tiny chest. Her small hands fly to her mouth, trying to hold back a sound she doesn't even know she's making. That beautiful, happy woman, asterisk it's my mom, asterisk the memory dissolves, replaced by the sterile hum of a conference room at the Spark Theater. Years have passed. Kai Xing, now a composed and elegant woman, strides into the room, Zhu Meng a silent, imposing shadow at her side. She apologizes with a graceful smile for her tardiness, explaining she got stuck at work. The director of Quaking Earth, Pei Yuan, waves it off, telling her it's all right and they should get started now. But her eyes linger on Zhu Meng. Her voice is laced with cold curiosity as she asks who he is. Kai Xing chuckles, a light, airy sound that belies the tension in the room. She explains he's her bodyguard, a necessary precaution after what happened before. Zhu Meng's face darkens, a sullen expression twisting his handsome features as he glares at the others in the room. Asterisk I can't believe those guys, asterisk he thinks, his jaw tight. A sharp cough cuts through the air. Mai, the scriptwriter, a bald man with an arrogant smirk, taps his microphone impatiently. He tells them that's enough dilly-dallying, it's time to get to the script. And so the table read begins. A hush falls over the room as the story unfolds. It's a story about a woman named Zhao Yingmei. 34 years old, she suffered from congenital deafness in one ear and was slowly losing her hearing in the other. Within half a year, her world would fall completely silent. As if that wasn't enough tragedy, her husband was cheating on her and planning a divorce. She was struggling to get her child into a good school, and the restaurant where she worked was looking for a reason to fire her. Things were tough for her, an endless cascade of misfortune. But Zhao Yimei came from an ordinary family, and as a child she had one simple joy, watching a boy her age dance every day. That boy was Wang Jing, who grew up to become a dance prodigy, a star she watched from afar, lost in the crowd of his admirers. Of course, he never knew she existed, this quiet girl who had been following his career her entire life. When her friends asked about her future plans, her one desperate wish before the silence consumed her, she answered without a single moment of hesitation, I want to have a dance with Wang Jing. It was the only thing she was ever determined to do. She wanted to do it while she could still hear the music. As the tragic story of Zhao Yingmei echoes in the room, Kai Xing's carefully constructed composure begins to crack. Zhu Meng watches her from the side, his gaze sharp and concerned. Asterisk she looks uneasy, asterisk he thinks, noticing the subtle shift in her expression. Asterisk is she not feeling well, asterisk he leans closer, his voice a low murmur. Perhaps she's tired. But before he can finish, the scriptwriter Mai pauses the reading. He turns his sharp, condescending gaze directly on Kai Xing. His voice rings out, demanding her attention. Tell me, Kai Xing, he says, a cruel smile playing on his lips. He leans forward, his eyes glinting behind his glasses. He asks her what she thinks. Is Zhao Yingmei's wish for something so unreasonable like that? The entire room falls silent, the air crackles with tension. Asterisk Mr. Mai is doing it again, asterisk Kai Xing thinks, her heart sinking. Asterisk he's deliberately asking her to embarrass her. Asterisk the director Pei Yuan watches with cold, closed-off eyes, offering no help. Mai leans even closer to the microphone, his voice dripping with venom. I don't care who the hell you are, Kai Xing, he sneers. Her past, her family, her fame, none of it mattered to him. He wanted to break her right here, right now. But Kai Xing meets his gaze, her own eyes clear and unwavering. Her voice is soft, yet it carries the weight of profound understanding. She simply states it was her childhood dream. The answer is so simple, so pure, that it leaves everyone in the room stunned into silence. A wave of admiration ripples through the cast and crew. Wow, even Mai is taken aback, stroking his chin in thought. Later, under the soft glow of the city lights, Kai Xing leans against a railing, the day's events weighing heavily on her. She turns to Zhu Meng, her voice barely a whisper. What happened today, she confesses, made me realize I'm just an ordinary person like everyone else. Her frustration finally boils over. That my guy, she says, her voice rising with anger. She recalls an interview he gave, saying he thought she was a typical babe in the wood, the kind of woman men like him keep in the house. I hated to see him so complacent before me, she fumes, her hands clenched into fists. I wish I could beat him up, she declares, her cheeks puffed out in a rare display of childish anger. Zhu Meng can't help but smile faintly. Well, he says softly, that's more like you. Her anger deflates as quickly as it came, replaced by a sense of weary resignation. But he's the scriptwriter of Quaking Earth, she sighs. How can I go against him? In that moment, stripped of her fame and fortune, she feels utterly powerless. Therefore, I'm no different from others. As she stands there, vulnerable and lost in thought, a warm hand suddenly covers hers. Zhu Meng gently takes her hand in his grip firm and reassuring. He doesn't say much, but he doesn't need to. Come on, he says, his voice a low, comforting rumble. Let's get something to eat. He looks at her, his eyes filled with a deep, unwavering concern. You'll never feel better if you are hungry. And as he leads her away, for a moment, the weight of the world feels a little lighter. Meanwhile, back in the car, Kai Xing's assistants are getting restless. What's taking them so long? One of them wonders, worried. The table read must have been exhausting and he feels bad for Xing. But the other assistant, the one with a sharp sense for romantic affairs, stares into the night with wide, panicked eyes. I have a bad feeling, she exclaims. The past rushes back unbidden. The golden light, the sweet music 24 years ago. Little Kai Xing, watching her mother, Sun Wanwan, her entire world dance with another man. Her mother's face, so full of joy, a joy Kai Xing now understands was not for her father. Asterisk my mom, asterisk the image is so vivid, so perfect, adorned with sparkling light and blooming flowers. Little Kai Xing gazes up, her heart full. Asterisk my mom looks so pretty and happy. Asterisk then the innocent offering of a heart-shaped box of chocolates from Mr. Zhang. A gift that unknowingly marked the end of her childhood, the sudden violent BAM. The peek around the door, the sight of her mother, her beautiful, perfect mother in another man's arms, their lips meeting in a secret kiss. The shock so profound it steals the air from her lungs. The tiny hands flying to her mouth, a desperate attempt to contain the sob that threatens to tear her apart. Asterisk it's my mom. Asterisk the memory fades, leaving the cold reality of the conference room once more. Kai Xing enters, apologizing for being late, Zhu Meng her ever-present guardian. The director, Pei Yuan, dismisses her apology, eager to begin. But her gaze catches on Zhu Meng, her voice sharp as she asks, who is he? Kai Xing explains he's her bodyguard, a necessary measure. Zhu Meng's expression is sullen, his anger simmering just beneath the surface as he glares at the room. Impatiently, the scriptwriter Mai calls them to order. And the table read begins again. The story fills the room, a haunting echo of Kai Xing's own trauma. Zhao Yingmei, the woman losing her hearing. Her marriage crumbling around her as her husband finds comfort in another woman's arms. Her life is a series of closed doors and disappointments. But she clings to a single dream from her girlhood, a memory of a boy named Wang Jing, a dance prodigy she admired from afar. He never knew she existed, this silent observer in the crowd. Yet her one wish before her will goes silent forever is to dance with him just once. As the story unfolds, a palpable unease settles over Kai Xing. Zhu Mei notices immediately. Asterisk she looks uneasy. Is she not feeling well? Perhaps she's tired. Asterisk he's cut off as Mai pauses the reading, his voice a sharp interruption. He fixes his gaze on Kai Xing, a predator singling out his prey. Tell me, Kai Xing, he demands, his tone mocking. What do you think is that made Zhao Yingmei wish for something unreasonable like that? He's deliberately trying to humiliate her. Pei Yuan watches with an icy detachment, letting the scene play out. Mai leans into the microphone, his voice dripping with contempt. I don't care who the hell you are, Kai Xing, he says, his words a public dismissal of her entire career. He wants to see her crumble, but she doesn't. She looks up, her expression serene, her voice clear and strong as it cuts through the tension. It was her childhood dream. The simple, profound truth of her words silences the entire room. They can only stare in awe. Later, under the vast night sky, Kai Xing's composure finally breaks. She confesses to Zhu Meng that the whole ordeal made her feel small, ordinary. That my guy, she seethes, remembering his arrogant words from an old interview. I hated to see him so complacent before me. She clenches her fists, wishing she could just punch him. A small smile touches Zhu Meng's lips. Well, that's more like you, he says softly. Her anger fades into weary defeat. But he's the scriptwriter, how can I go against him? She feels trapped, powerless. Therefore, I'm no different from others. A warm hand suddenly covers hers. Zhu Meng's fingers intertwine with hers, a silent promise of support. Come on, he says gently. Let's get something to eat. He looks down at her, his expression soft. You'll never feel better if you are hungry. And for a moment, she believes him. Back in the car, the assistants wait anxiously. What's taking them so long? One wonders aloud, worried about Kai Xing, but the other has a sixth sense for these things, her eyes wide with alarm. I have a bad feeling, she cries. The whirl of a memory pulls us back again to a different time, a different shore. The night is dark, the sea roars below. A younger Kai Xing stands precariously on a ledge, the wind whipping through her hair. Suddenly, a panicked voice calls out, Hey, please don't jump, I've got the popsicle you asked for. A young Zhu Meng scrambles towards her, holding out a frozen treat like a peace offering. Kai Xing turns, her face bruised and bandaged, but a small smile plays on her lips. Don't worry, she says, her voice light despite her appearance. I won't commit suicide. She takes the popsicle and takes a huge bite. Whoa, this feels great, she exclaims, her cheeks puffed out. Do you like having popsicles in winter? He grumbles beside her, shivering. What's to be great about it? It's freezing out here. She laughs, then turns to him, a mischievous glint in her eye. Where are your muscles? She asks, poking him directly in the chest. He flinches, his face flushing a bright red. Ahem, he coughs, completely flustered as her laughter echoes into the night. The memory fades, leaving them in the present, walking through a brightly lit street. So many people are around, and Zhu Meng is on high alert, keeping a close eye on Kai Xing even though she's wearing a mask. Suddenly, she stops. Zhu Meng, please check if there is ice cream. I'm craving ice cream right now. He immediately goes into bodyguard mode, his voice stern as he reminds her of her strict diet. Salad for breakfast and dinner, less than 4 hours of sleep. Does she know how many calories are in an ice cream? She glares at him, betrayed. I can't believe he's picking on me, his employer. You were not like this before. She puffs her cheeks out, her fists clenched in frustration. But then she turns to him, her eyes wide and pleading, a single thought consuming her entire being. I want ice cream. He sighs, his resolve crumbling under her adorable assault. Fine, he relents. You can have it. She lights up, happily munching on the coat. It tastes so good, I love it. She turns to him, a teasing smile on her face. Do you remember that time when we had popsicles together? It was a winter day. He looks away, but a faint blush colors his cheeks. Of course I remember, he murmurs. She pounces on his hesitation. What, you forgot about it? Let me remind you a little. She leans in close, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. I touched your chest. Before he can react, she grabs his hand, her touch sending a jolt through him. He stares down at her, his heart beginning to pound. She looks up at him, her eyes sparkling with mischief, and declares, fine, I won't touch it now. But her tone is anything but apologetic. You are terrible, Zhu Meng, she says, a playful smirk on her face. No woman will like a petty man. With that, she playfully pinches his tie, victorious. Haha. I touched his chest again, but then something shifts. He stops resisting, he leans down, his face getting closer and closer. Her breath hitches in her throat, her eyes widen. The playful atmosphere evaporates, replaced by a thick, palpable tension. Is he going to kiss me? She thinks, her mind reeling. I can't believe he's actually taking the initiative to kiss me. Their lips are mere inches apart. But just as she closes her eyes, a hand presses firmly against her shoulder. And he pushes her away. The moment shatters, she stumbles back, her eyes wide with disbelief. What? She whispers, the sound stolen by the shock. Lightning seems to crackle around her. A rejected movie star. What just happened? Did he reject me? Zhu Meng stands frozen, his ears and neck burning a furious shade of red. Unable to meet her gaze. They sit on a bench, the silence between them heavy and awkward. What a coward you are, she says finally, breaking the silence, though her voice lacks its usual bite. But I do like your chest muscles. He turns to her, his expression serious. I'm your bodyguard, he states as if reciting a rulebook. I can't develop a private relationship with you. She scoffs, a wry smile on her lips. Is there a code that stipulates a bodyguard can't kiss his employer? Sorry, his client? She challenges. If there is, you already broke the rule, you kissed me before. She leans back, her eyes glinting. Besides, I love breaking the rules and developing unusual relationships with people. He looks away, his resolve faltering as his sister's warnings echo in his mind. You must keep her safe, stop those paparazzi. They may use them to target her. Watch your language and behavior. Negative news, that's what it all comes down to. Kaizing sees the conflict in his eyes. I see, she says softly. Cheng Zioyan must have told you something. She stands up, her posture suddenly regal. What negative news could they say about me? Will they blame me for being too close to my bodyguard? Do you think I would care about that? She looks at him, and for the first time she sees not a coward, but a man worried about her asterisk. However, she continues, her voice softening, you are worried about them making negative news out of me. His silence is all the confirmation she needs. A sad smile touches her lips. I'll keep a safe distance from you, she says, the words feeling like ash in her mouth. She turns and begins to walk away. Let's go, she calls over her shoulder, her voice distant. My bodyguard. He remains seated on the bench, watching her go, the space between them feeling wider than ever before. Meanwhile, on Hiyu's phone, a message pops up from Zhu Meng's brother. He has a lot of pictures of Xing and wonders if Meng wants them. Meng doesn't reply. His brother smirks. No reply. Well, that means he does want them. He happily sends all the pictures over, thinking to himself, I'm so clever. At the same time, a notification from Kai Xing beeps on Zhu Meng's phone. I want popsicles. A soft smile played on Kai Xing's lips as she looked at Zhu Meng. A strange mix of resolve and sadness in her eyes. She told him not to worry, that the paparazzi wouldn't make a big deal out of this. To protect him, to protect herself, she promised to keep a safe distance from now on. The words hung in the air, a wall being built between them brick by painful brick. As the sleek black car pulled away, Zhu Meng's gaze was fixed on the road, but his mind was somewhere else entirely. His heart felt heavy, a leaden weight in his chest. Her attitude, it's all changed. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. Ever since that night, a chasm had opened between them. She was a ghost, speaking to him only when absolutely necessary, her words clipped and formal. The warmth was gone, replaced by an unbearable, polite chill. In the other car, Chang Zioyan was a bundle of nerves, fretting that they'd be stuck in traffic and miss the booting ceremony. Kai Xing, her face a perfect mask of calm, simply told her to stop saying that. Just then Zhu Meng's voice came through the car's speakers, a steady, reassuring presence. He told her not to worry. There would be no traffic, he'd already had his men check the road in advance. He was still taking care of her even from a distance. Chang Zioyan's jaw dropped. He's so good-looking and competent. Her mind raced, a tiny panic setting in as she watched him drive. How could any woman resist his charm? Oh no, she thought with a gulp. I'm afraid Xing's going to fall for that man soon. Kai Xing, however, remained impassive. She simply offered a quiet, formal thank you. Zhu Meng's jaw tightened. There it was again, that coldness. She was doing it again, treating him like a complete stranger. In the backseat, Chang Zioyan was utterly bewildered. What was happening? She thought they'd flirt a little, but the air was thick with an alienated tension that was so unlike Xing. When they arrived at the movie set, the air around Zhu Meng was practically vibrating with irritation. He stood by the car, a gloomy, unapproachable figure against the bright backdrop of the film equipment. His assistants watched him from a distance, whispering amongst themselves. What was wrong with Mang? He seemed so depressed recently. They exchanged knowing glances. Could it be Xing? The memory of a happier time flashed in Zhu Mang's mind, the sun in her hair, his hand gently brushing it back, the easy closeness they once shared. But that felt like a lifetime ago. Suddenly, a warm voice broke the tension. Chen Luoyang approached Kai Xing, his smile gentle. He asked how things were going, juggling 2 jobs at once. He told her she could talk to him if she ever found herself in trouble, offering to be a good listener even if he couldn't help. Kai Xing was visibly taken aback by his sudden kindness. He then took her phone, his movements smooth as he declared he'd allow her to save his number. Why he'd save it as her emergency contact? But as he navigated her phone, he paused. His smile turned into a knowing smirk as he showed her the screen. He thought her emergency contact would be Chang Zioyan, he purred, asking why she made Zhu Meng her contact instead. Kai Xing stared, completely blindsided. She didn't even know. Chen Luoyang's eyes gleamed with victory. Asterisk really? Asterisk, he thought, enjoying her confusion. Flustered, Kai Xing immediately said she'd change it now. But he stopped her, his voice silky smooth as he told her it was unnecessary. He watched her, utterly charmed. She was like a wily little fox, he thought, so cute. Just then another voice cut in. Hey. It was Zhu Meng. His eyes were dark, fixed on Chen Luoyang's hand near Kai Xing's. He announced coldly that the assistant director wanted to see her, asking what she was waiting for. The air crackled with unspoken rivalry. Zhu Meng and Chen Luoyang locked eyes, a silent battle of wills raging between them. One a clingy brat, the other a possessive love rival, and Kai Xing was stuck right in the middle, feeling utterly helpless. She turned and began to walk away with Chen Luoyang, pointedly ignoring Zhu Meng. He watched her go, his hand clenching into a tight, trembling fist. He couldn't take it anymore. He called out to her, his voice rough with emotion. The assistant director wanted to see Him *, so why was she going with Chen Luoyang? He stepped in front of her, his face a mask of hurt and frustration. Was she still mad at him? He was just a bodyguard, he insisted. It was his job to protect her from negative press. Why was she mad at him for doing his duty? His voice cracked slightly as he asked, how much longer do you want to do this? Later, on the set of her other film, The Shaking Earth, the grand ancient costumes felt like armor. Kai Xing stood alone, her expression steely as she held her phone to her ear. She spoke in a low, urgent tone, telling the person on the other end to check something for her. She wanted to know every single person involved in this movie. Every actor, every crew member, every investor. No one was to be overlooked. In a brief moment of levity, the car ride home was a study in contrasts. Zhu Meng drove, his face set in a comical pout. Asterisk, she's ignoring me again. Asterisk, he grumbled internally. Chang Zioyan, sitting beside him, was completely baffled. What was with him? Why was he upset? Asterisk again, asterisk. In the back, Kai Xing was oblivious to the drama, looking utterly pleased with herself as she scrolled through her phone. But her peace was short-lived. That night, she stood on the cavernous, empty stage of a theater, the bright stage lights blinding her. A figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mai, her expression sharp and accusatory. She knew Kai Xing was in Chen Luoyang's new movie, Sweetness in You. The accusation was clear, you can't have it all. Kai Xing didn't flinch. Her voice was steady as she acknowledged that many actresses could play her part in that film. However, she continued, her gaze unwavering. She was the only one who could truly play the character of Zhao Yingmei. That was why she accepted the offer, because this character reminded her of her mother. Her hand drifted to her chest, a flicker of deep, buried pain in her eyes. Her mother, she explained, had fallen in love with the man who taught her how to dance. She had an affair with him. The memory of that day was still so vivid. 4 hours ago at the booting ceremony for Sweetness in You. She had been standing for a group photo, a polite smile plastered on her face. Suddenly, her phone rang. The caller ID was jarring, scriptwriter the bald. When she answered, his voice was like acid, dripping with venom. He knew she was an ambitious girl, but she had to know her limits. She couldn't have everything. He demanded to see her at the theater right now before hanging up with a sharp beep. The words echoed in her mind, chilling her to the bone. Asterisk, did he find out? Asterisk, Zhu Meng's concerned voice broke through her daze. Kai Xing, she looked up, her eyes wide and preoccupied. He saw the fear on her face and immediately pulled her aside, away from the prying eyes and flashing cameras. His hands were gentle on her arms, his gaze intense as he asked what had happened. For a moment, she just stared at him, her mind reeling. Who was that on the phone? What was going on? Then her instincts took over. She grasped the front of his suit, anchoring herself to his solid presence. She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper, but her request was firm. Zhu Meng, drive me to the theater. Under the vast, starry sky, the theater felt like an interrogation room. The scriptwriter stood before her, a cigarette dangling from his lips. He told her there were no secrets in their business. It was easy to find out someone's intentions. It turned out the scriptwriter for Sweetness in You was his student. Why did you do it? He asked, his tone laced with disbelief. He knew she wasn't stupid. She had to have known how Pei Yuan, Chen Luoyang's main backer, felt about him. Kai Xing calmly revealed her trump card. She had signed a 12-year contract with Fengchuan Media, securing a 40% profit share and full control of the marketing team. She was making a massive gamble. The scriptwriter was stunned. Damn it, he cursed before conceding that her move was brilliant, but he was still suspicious. She was making a fortune, so why did she still live in a tiny, rented house? Even her own manager didn't know where her money went. He knew she was hiding something huge. Suddenly, the heavy stage door creaked open. And Mai stormed in, her face a thundercloud of fury. "Why did you work for Chen Liang?" she spat, her voice echoing in the empty theater. "Kaizing, you know I hate him." Kaizing tried to speak to explain herself, but Mai wasn't having it. The scriptwriter gently tried to intervene, suggesting they hear her out. But Mai scoffed, her eyes filled with disdain. She'd seen plenty of people like her, what could she possibly have to say? "Well, you've got some nerve to explain," Mai sneered. Kaizing took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly. She said she didn't accept the part because of the director's achievements or the famous scriptwriter. She clutched her hands together, her knuckles white. It was because her mind flashed to Zhu Meng. His steady presence, his unwavering support. "He was right here for me," she thought. "He will protect me. I'll be okay." A newfound strength filled her. She looked them both in the eye, her voice clear and strong. "I have nothing to be afraid of. I like the story and I want to play Zhao Yingmei because she reminds me of my mother." She paused, the silence stretching into an eternity. Then she dropped the bomb that shattered the world around them. "My father was a rapist." In the chaos of her confession, Zhu Meng's mind was blissfully simple. She had leaned on him, she didn't shake him off. He broke into a goofy internal grin. Asterisk, "I guess she's no longer mad at me. Heh heh." Asterisk, a perfect example of a typical man, completely missing the earthquake for the tremor. But for Kaizing, the earthquake was her entire life. Memories flooded back, dark and suffocating. The sound of weeping, the slammed doors. Her father, reeking of alcohol, his face bruised and twisted in a drunken rage as he stumbled towards her mother. Little Kaizing, hiding behind a door, her small body trembling. All she ever wanted was for them to stop fighting. But her father's rage was a storm that couldn't be calmed. He saw her peeking and roared, kicking the door and screaming at her to get lost. He was a monster and her mother was his prisoner. She rarely saw her mother smile, the pain was etched too deeply into her beautiful face. But then when she turned 6, a sliver of light broke through the darkness. Her mother met Zhang Ying, her dance instructor. He was kind and he made her mother rediscover her passion. For the first time in her life, Kaizing saw her mother truly smile, a radiant, breathtaking sight that filled her small heart with hope. Her mother was transformed, but that light came with its own shadow. The man was married. He had a wife and a beautiful daughter, a perfect family that her mother had disrupted. Back in the present, the memory left a chill that seeped into her bones. Zhu Meng appeared at her side as if sensing her distress. He handed her a steaming cup of coffee, his voice low and gentle. "I brought you coffee, it's hot, be careful." Her eyes widened in surprise. Did he go out just to buy this for her? He simply said it was getting colder and she needed something warm. She took the cup, their fingers brushing, and looked up at him, the warmth of the coffee spreading through her hands and into her heart. "Thank you," she whispered, and this time it was filled with genuine gratitude. The others watched the quiet, intimate moment, a silent understanding passing between them. The scriptwriter broke the spell, his voice softer now. He asked what happened after the affair was discovered. Kaizing took a slow sip of her coffee, the steam warming her face. "There's no concealing the truth," she said quietly. "People know each other in small towns." The words triggered another torrent of painful memories. The whispers that followed her down the street, the taunts from other children. "Tramp, you and your mother are both tramps." The cruelty of her teachers scolding her for her dirty uniform, for the bruises her father left. "How could you come here in those clothes? Don't you feel ashamed?" The words were like stones pelting her small, fragile body. "You are dirty," one teacher had sneered, her face twisting with disgust. "Just like your mother." The memory was so visceral, the teacher's face morphed into Mai's. "Kaizing," Mai's voice snapped her back to the present. Seeing the haunted look in her eyes, Mai's expression softened slightly. She suggested they go out to the balcony for some fresh air, for a private conversation. Under the vast, glittering expanse of the night sky, Mai lit a cigarette. "How are you feeling?" she asked, her voice losing its earlier edge. Kaizing assured her she was okay now. Mai took a long drag from her cigarette, her eyes scanning the city below before landing on Zhu Meng, who was waiting patiently inside. "Your bodyguard is quite attractive," she commented offhandedly. Then she leaned in, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. She warned Kaizing to tell her bodyguard to be careful around the scriptwriter, Mai's supposed teacher. "Why? Because he's bisexual?" Kaizing's eyes widened. She glanced back at Zhu Meng, a small, confident smile touching her lips. "He can try," she said coolly, "but I doubt my bodyguard will say yes to him." Mai raised an eyebrow, a knowing look on her face. "He likes you, right?" she asked bluntly. Kaizing didn't answer. "I can see it," Mai continued, her gaze analytical. "People may feel bad for you, they may sympathize with you, but he holds you differently, he even regrets it a bit. I can see that misery in his eyes, that's strange." "Why?" Kaizing simply turned her face to the wind, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. "Who knows?" she murmured into the night. Meanwhile, a very different conversation was happening inside. The scriptwriter, ever the pot stirrer, posed a hypothetical question to Zhu Meng. "Would you like me if I were a man?" He then turned the tables, asking how Zhu Meng would answer if Kaizing asked him that. Zhu Meng was completely flustered, speechless. The scriptwriter presented the correct romantic answer. "I don't care if you are a man, it's your soul I love." But Zhu Meng, bless his simple heart, had a much more practical response. "If she's a man, we will become buddies." His internal monologue was even more blunt. Asterisk, "I do care about gender, this man is nuts." Asterisk, the world was a blur of cold rain and colder steel. A voice dripping with malice echoed in the darkness, promising her that no one, absolutely no one, would come to save her. The box cutter pressed against her skin, a searing line of pain as blood began to well. Her eyes, wide with terror, stared up at her attacker, her breath catching in her throat. This was it. This was how it ended. The sneering faces of the bullies twisted in the gloom, their victory assured, but just as the blade was about to press deeper, a figure lunged out of the night. A hand shot out, grabbing the attacker's wrist with surprising strength. "Who the hell are you?" the bully snarled. But the newcomer didn't answer. His eyes were locked on her. Blood streamed down her pale cheek, mixing with the tears that traced a path of pure terror. He saw the wound, the fear, the utter despair in her gaze. His own face went pale with shock. The world seemed to slow down, the rain muting to a distant hum. All she could hear was his voice, soft and trembling as he leaned over her. "Are you okay?" The harsh fluorescent lights of the police station did little to soothe her frayed nerves. Zhu Meng was talking to an officer, his voice low and steady. He claimed he had to hang out with Kai Xing because she had threatened to commit suicide. He was twisting the story. He told the officer that after he rejected her, she started making a scene, and he insisted he didn't hurt her. A sly smile played on his lips as he spoke to the officer, a man he called uncle. He then turned his attention to her, his tone shifting. He warned her that she was a senior now, and that it wouldn't do her any good to make a big deal out of this mess. Was he protecting her or himself? Later, they walked under the dim city lights, the air thick with unspoken words. The bandage on her neck was a stark white reminder of what had just happened. She saw them then, the same group of thugs who had cornered her, lurking in the shadows, their snickering faces filled with malice. Zhu Meng's eyes narrowed. He wondered if those guys were with them, if this was all connected. Without a word, he wheeled his bicycle in front of her, blocking her path. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. "I'll take you home," he declared, his gaze fixed on her, a silent promise of protection in his eyes. They found a quiet spot away from prying eyes. Kai Xing pulled out a cigarette, the tip glowing like a tiny ember in the night. Zhu Meng's eyes widened in disbelief. "Where did you get that cigarette?" he demanded, his voice a mixture of shock and concern. A small rebellious smirk touched her lips. She confessed she stole it from the police station, considering it compensation for her mental damage. She took a long, slow drag, the smoke curling from her lips as she exhaled her pain into the night sky. He stared at her, utterly surprised. She turned her head, the moonlight catching in her dark hair, and called his name, Zhu Meng. Her eyes, sharp and knowing, pierced right through him. "Do you have a crush on me?" she asked, her voice a sultry whisper. The world stopped. Heat flooded Zhu Meng's face, a deep crimson blush spreading from his neck to the tips of his ears. He was completely flustered. In a move born of pure impulse, he grabbed her, his fingers closing around her jacket, pulling her impossibly close. Their faces were inches apart, the air thick with a tension you could cut with a knife. His heart was pounding, his mind racing. He could feel the warmth of her breath, see the challenge sparkling in her eyes. All he could manage to stammer out was, you like?" Finally, the words burst from him, laced with accusation and a strange hint of pain. "You are a bad girl," he choked out. His whole body trembled with an emotion he couldn't name. He wasn't done, his voice dropped, filled with a bitterness that stunned her. "You and your mother are both bad people," he spat, the words hung in the air, heavy and cruel. Kai Xing's playful demeanor shattered, the light in her eyes dimmed, replaced by a profound sadness. She looked down, a single tear escaping. "Yes," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm a bad girl." She looked up at him then, her expression a fragile mask of composure. "You must never fall for me," she warned, her voice a final, desperate plea. His question was quiet, almost hesitant. "Do you hate your mother?" The image of her mother, elegant and distant, flashed in her mind. "I thought I hated her," she began, her voice trembling. But the memories came flooding back, a torrent of pain she had long suppressed. The day Zhang Ying died, hit by a car. She saw the doctor cover his body with a pristine white cloth, a finality that had sealed her mother's fate. After that, life became a living hell. Her father's abuse escalated, his fists and his rage turning their home into a prison. Her aunt had pleaded with her mother to leave, to take Kai Xing and settle down somewhere else, far away from the monster. But her mother had refused. For so long, Kai Xing had wondered why. Was it because of Zhang Ying? Was she still clinging to a ghost? "No," she whispered to Zhu Meng, the truth finally spilling out. It had nothing to do with him. Her mother was no fool. She knew Zhang Ying would never abandon his own family for her. They were just fooling around. The reason she stayed was for her. A memory, warm and golden, broke through the darkness. Her mother holding her close, her voice filled with a desperate love. "Xing, you are my baby." Her mother knew that if she ran, Kai Rong's fury would fall upon the only person left, her daughter. He would beat Xing, he would destroy her. In that moment, staring into the night sky, everything became clear. "I no longer hate her," she said, her voice thick with unshed tears. "I sympathize with her." She was standing under a tree with blossoms like white stars, the night air cool on her skin. Her mother, now a powerful producer, stood beside her, a warning in her voice. She had no problem with Kai Xing working for Chen Luoyang, but she needed to be careful. Someone might reveal her secret to him. Just then, Chen Luoyang approached, holding her arm gently. "Do you want an ice cream?" he asked, his voice soft, her eyes widened slightly. She looked at him, truly looked at him, and a question bloomed in her mind. She'd never told anyone about her mother, not the whole story. Why did she have the courage to tell him? Did he give her that strength? The thought was terrifying. "I'm sorry," she whispered, looking down. He looked confused. "I'm sorry about you and your mother," he clarified, his expression etched with genuine sympathy. "I didn't know what happened." He looked so guilty, as if he'd intruded on something sacred. He tried to brush it off, claiming he'd already forgotten what she said, but his eyes told a different story. She looked at him, her gaze steady. "I warned you not to fall for me," she reminded him, her voice low. They stood close, the space between them charged with electricity. the city lights twinkling like fallen stars around them. A slow smile spread across his face. You did say that, he admitted, his eyes sparkling with a light she'd never seen before. But I didn't agree. In a cute little chibai theater, we see young Zhu Mang's inner thoughts. He wondered if those bullies were with Yitang, furious at the thought that they would dare to bully her. He shot a sharp glare over his shoulder at the other kids who were watching, and they immediately shrank back in fear. I'll take you home, he said, firmly protecting her. The onlookers whispered amongst themselves, terrified. He looked so scary, why did he glare at us? We just wanted to see the hot babe. Back in the present, Kai Xing repeated his words with a smirk. Behave yourself, boy. He just smiled back. You told me not to fall in love with you. Yeah, I did, he confirmed. His suit was sharp, his posture confident. But I didn't say yes. Her phone suddenly buzzed incessantly. She glanced down to see a group chat titled Kai Xing and her bodyguards, exploding with 182 new messages. It was filled with handsome men, her agent, an IT upstart, a music producer, a college teacher. They were teasing her relentlessly. Have you seen that, Mang? Don't you have anything to say? Why did you want the photos of Xing's ex? Mang, you must hide something from us. Chen Luoyang looked over her shoulder, his face turning beet red with embarrassment. Kai Xing's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. You investigated me? She asked, her voice dangerously low. He stammered, trying to explain himself. I'm just worried that they would badger you with you like Lin Shuchuan then. Danger, he'd said the name. Her face turned stormy. He quickly tried to backtrack, confessing he was just curious about her past. A slow, wicked smile spread across her face. She had him now. So, she purred, do you have any feelings after reading the stuff? He muttered that they were all the same type. Gentle, educated, and good-looking. She giggled, fluttering her eyelashes. Yeah, I just like good-looking guys. They put me in a good mood. Chen Luoyang's internal monologue was in overdrive. Asterisk Yuan Kiashi is just like what she said. Asterisk he thought, recalling his friend's words. Then a new thought took hold. Asterisk none of them is as adorable as you. What? Is he so handsome that he makes you this obsessed? Asterisk. Just then her phone rang, saving him. It was Zai Oyan offering a delivery of hairy crabs. As she arranged the meeting, Chen Luoyang watched her, a thought nagging at him. Even Chang Zioyan can afford to buy a villa, but why is Kai Xing still renting an apartment outside? The smell of the crab was intoxicating. He uncovered the container, and Kai Xing's eyes went wide with pure, unadulterated joy. OMG, it's so yummy, she cried, taking a bite. I can only eat this twice a year. Watching her eat with such delight, a frown creased his brow. Is Chang Zioyan this cruel to you? He asked. She looked up, confused. What's wrong? He explained his thoughts that her friend in a villa should at least rent her a better apartment. Are you kidding or are you serious? She asked, a giggle bubbling up. He looked at her deadpan. Do I look like I'm kidding? That was it. She burst into a fit of laughter. He felt his cheeks grow warm. Was he being ridiculous? Did he feel distressed for her and want to seek justice? He cleared his throat and offered her 3 crabs to eat tonight. She hesitated for a second. What if I get fat? She worried. He leaned in, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. I won't tell Zioyan. Her face lit up. Well, give me, she demanded. He couldn't help but smile. You are, he started. But she cut him off, her cheeks pink. Don't say I'm cute. He leaned closer still, their faces just inches apart, and whispered, you are so bad. She erupted in laughter again, and his heart did a little flip. You look better when you smile, he said softly, his gaze full of warmth. In another little theater, we see the aftermath of an accidental message. Kai Xing is in full panic mode. I sent the message to the wrong group. No, she wailed, tears streaming down her face. Boo-hoo, what can I do? I can't withdraw it. The chat Kai Xing and her bodyguards was then flooded with over 10,000 blurred-out reaction memes. Chen Luoyang and her agent could only stare at their phones, deadpan. She must be insane. Back on the set of Sweetness in You, Kai Xing was discussing an upcoming event with her co-star Yuan Kiashi. It's just a meaningless social engagement, she said with a dismissive wave. Whether you go or not doesn't make any difference, the director yelled action. The camera rolled and she transformed, her face a mask of cool indifference as she delivered a breakup line. After the cut, Yuan Kiashi smiled. That's my attitude when I break up with the man I don't like, she explained with a laugh. I see, he replied. Don't you have the same experience? He admitted with a charmingly sheepish grin that he was usually the one who was dumped. I'm a gentleman, he added. I can't hurt girls. Kai Xing's eyes glinted. Breaking up is not a sad thing, she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. Breaking up with the one you don't like should be a great thing. She turned her back to him, a cascade of dark hair shimmering in the light. Women prefer a sincere playboy to a hypocritical gentleman. The set was buzzing with gossip. Yuan Kiashi had arrived with an entourage of bodyguards, looking every bit the wealthy heir he was. Whispers circulated about the infighting between him and his siblings for the family property, a fortune worth tens of billions. Then Kai Xing's eyes caught something that made her stomach clench. It was Zhu Mang talking and laughing with Yuan's pretty assistant, Zhang Kaiyan. A strange, unwelcome feeling washed over her. A moment later, Zhu Mang approached her. Zhang Kaiyan wants your WeChat number, he said casually. Should I give it to her or not? Kai Xing feigned ignorance. Who was Zhang Kaiyan? He puffed out his chest proudly. Yan Jian's assistant, the most beautiful girl. A hint of a smirk played on his lips. No, she asked, asterisk me asterisk, he corrected, clearly enjoying himself. Whoa, you are cool. He then leaned in, his voice a low tease. You want me to give it to her? Kai Xing's cheeks flushed. It was that look again, the same look from before. It was killing her. She shoved her script into his hands. Come on, help me with the lines, she snapped. He raised an eyebrow. Me, are you sure? The line was about her character not caring if her fiancé dates other girls. Zhu Meng's eyes flickered to where Yuan Qiashi was standing. An idea sparked. You should ask me to do you the favor, he said, stepping between them. He addressed Yuan directly, his voice dripping with condescension. You found an inexperienced guy, how can he make you immersed? He held out the script. A professional actor can help her better with the lines. Yuan took the script, a thoughtful look on his face. Later he approached her. You finished your part for today, haven't you? He told her he came for an answer. When she looked confused, he quoted her own words back to her. Hypocritical gentleman, are you talking about me? She panicked, frantically denying it. I'm not talking about you, calm down. He smiled, relieved. Good to hear that, I thought you hate me. How is it possible, she gushed. No one will hate you. He saw his opening. He stepped closer, his gaze intense. Then he began, since you don't hate me, can I invite you to dinner? But before she could reply, a strong hand gently grasped her arm, pulling her backward. Zhu Meng stood there, a cool smile on his face as he looked at Yuan. Excuse me, he said smoothly. Your dance teacher said that you haven't practiced today. I heard that you need a partner to practice with you. I can be your partner. He dipped her slightly, his eyes locked on his rival, a silent declaration of war. In Kai Xing's mind, a little theater played out. Tusk, Zhu Meng is so handsome. It's a pity that he's just a bodyguard, she thought dreamily. If he were an actor, there would be so many characters that would suit him. The best character for him would be a noble scholar. She imagined herself as a beautiful demoness asking him, I'm a demon, are you really willing to give up your sect and live in seclusion with me? And he, her handsome scholar, would look at her with utter devotion and say, I'm willing to go anywhere with you. She pictured them in a loving embrace, surrounded by flowers, a happy giggle escaping her lips as she drooled at the thought. A sharp voice cut through her daydream. What are you daydreaming? It was you. Snapping her back to reality, a gentle melody drifted through the sun-drenched dance studio, the instructor's voice a calm, guiding current. Stretch your breasts and shoulders, he commanded. Tighten the jaw, raise your head a bit. In waltz, his voice explained, the male dancer guides the female dancer. His hand demonstrated the gentle but firm pressure on the small of the back. The female dancer only needs to follow his steps. Her eyes were wide, her breath held captive in her chest. All you have to do is trust me and follow me. The words echoed in her mind, a promise of effortless grace. 40 minutes earlier, however, Grace was nowhere to be found. Only the harsh squeak of shoes on polished wood and her own ragged counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her limbs felt like lead, sweat plastering loose strands of hair to her temples. Her body screamed in protest, but she pushed on, repeating the steps until they blurred into a dizzying mess. All right, stop here, the instructor's voice cut through her haze, sharp and disappointed. He stood with his arms crossed, his gaze critical. He asked if she hadn't practiced at home recently. Of course, she had a good foundation, he conceded, and her yoga kept her fit, but she still needed to practice more. He advised her to find a partner, and if she didn't have one, to at least imagine one. His final instruction was to practice for another half an hour before he left her alone in the cavernous room. She hung her head, the burn of failure hot in her cheeks. Suddenly, a bottle of cold water and a clean white towel appeared in front of her. Looked up to see Zhu Meng, his expression unreadable. He watched her, his mind racing. How could she have time to practice dancing? The thought was a sharp, angry pang in his chest. She hadn't slept for the past 2 days, filming for 8 hours straight. She didn't dare practice on the shooting site, stealing precious moments of rest to go over some basic steps. He knew how hard she was pushing herself. Kai Xing took the water with a grateful nod, sighing as she dabbed her face. Waltz looks so elegant and light, she thought with a weary sigh, but it's really difficult when you actually practice it. Just as she was about to start again, the door clicked open. Her eyes widened. It was Zhu Meng. He shrugged off his suit jacket, his movements fluid and deliberate. Her heart skipped a beat as his long fingers moved to his tie, loosening it before unfastening the top buttons of his shirt. What is he doing? Is he feeling hot? Is he taking his shirt off? Her mind went into complete tailspin, then his voice, low and steady, broke the silence. Let me dance with you. Kai Xing froze, her mouth agape. What? He ran a hand through his dark hair, the sunlight catching in the strands, making him look like something out of a dream. A faint, challenging smile touched his lips as he asked, Am I not good enough to dance with you? He took a step closer, his presence filling the room. I can be your dancing partner. She stared, completely bewildered. Was he kidding? He couldn't possibly know how to dance, could he? He must be joking, but his eyes were serious. He told her he was the lead dancer of waltz at his graduation ceremony, an unprofessional champion, he added with a hint of pride. He moved into a perfect starting position, one arm extended, a silent invitation. Am I qualified to be your partner? He asked again, his voice a soft challenge. And then they were moving. His hand was firm on her back, guiding her with an expertise that stole her breath away. All her anxiety, all her fumbling steps simply melted away under his lead. I trust my dancing partner, she thought, a sense of wonder blooming in her chest. The one who leads me and the one who is with me, all I have to do is follow in his happy steps and enjoy the moment. Her body felt weightless, her feet barely skimming the floor. I won't slip, nor will I fall. He spun her into deep, breathtaking dip, her back arching as he held her securely. This is the happy feeling that I have never felt before. They held the pose, suspended in the golden light, their faces inches apart. A single bead of sweat traced a path down his strong neck. Thump, thump, her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic rhythm that seemed to echo his own. Their eyes locked, and the world outside of his dark, intense gaze simply ceased to exist. A fierce blush crept up her neck, staining her cheeks a deep rose. What is happening to me? Her body felt hot, her legs weak. No, there must be something wrong with me. It was too much, too intense. Suddenly, the studio around her dissolved, replaced by a glittering memory. A woman in a sparkling gown, her smile so bright it hurt to look at. Mom, she whispered, the name a ghost on her lips, but the beautiful vision twisted into a nightmare. The memory of her mother walking away, replaced by the leering, sinister face of a man in glasses. The past crashed down on her, a suffocating wave of trauma. No, not now, her hand still holding his clenched tight. Zhu Meng's brow furrowed in concern. In one smooth motion, he pulled her upright, wrapping his arms around her as she trembled. It's not over yet, he murmured, his voice a low vibration against her ear. His gaze was so intense, so focused on her, it felt as though he could see straight into her soul. I have forgotten if I was ever gazed at by others, he thought, his own heart aching with a strange mix of emotions. I seem to have felt love, pity, care, regret, emotions that didn't belong to me before. The tenderness broke into my heart once again. He held her tighter, burying his face in her hair. Kai Xing, he whispered, his voice thick with an emotion she couldn't name. Let's fall in love again tonight. He pulled back just enough to cradle her face in his hands. His eyes were dark, swirling with unspoken promises as he leaned in. That's right, he murmured, his thumb stroking her cheek. I'll leave all my love for you. As his face drew closer, her mind became a whirlwind of sensations. He has a straight nose, chiseled lips, deep and bright eyes. I have never stared at him at such a close distance in the light. I still remember the soft feeling of his lips. Her eyes fluttered shut as their lips were about to meet, the air crackling with anticipation. Ring, the shrill, jarring sound of a phone shattered the moment. Kai Xing gasped, pushing away from him as if burned. Her phone screen lit up with a name, Yuan Kiashi. Zhu Mang raked a hand through his hair, a muscle ticking in his jaw. Who is calling at this moment? He thought, pure annoyance flashing in his eyes. So annoying. A dark suspicion crept into his mind. Is it that annoying guy? Kai Xing avoided his gaze, her voice small as she told him she had an appointment with Yuan Kiashi and he could go back first. I knew it, he thought, his heart sinking like a stone. As she turned to leave, he shot out a hand, his fingers wrapping around her wrist. Wait, he commanded, his voice tight. I'll send you over there. She quickly refused, saying there was no need, that Yuan would come pick her up, his grip tightened slightly. Where are you going? He asked, his tone dangerously low. Kai Xing, I'm your bodyguard. I just want to guarantee your safety. I won't interfere with your personal business. She stammered, trying to explain, but he cut her off. Go ahead, he said, his voice now cold and clipped as he released her. Send me a message when you arrive. He turned his back on her, shrugging on his jacket. The magical bubble they had created now completely popped. They stood for a moment, two strangers once again, before she walked away. In Yuan Kiashi's car, Kai Xing wanted to scream. What the hell am I doing? She raged internally, grabbing fistfuls of her own hair. The memory replayed in her mind, a cringe-inducing horror film. You were about to kiss him, yet the next second you said you had an appointment with another guy. She slumped in her seat, branding herself a certified two-timer. Yuan glanced at her, a smirk playing on his lips. What's wrong with you? Since you got into the car, you've been distracted, he commented. Just then, her phone dinged. She had sent her location to Zhu Mang, and his only reply was a single, infuriating okay. Amen, she seethed. You just replied to me with okay, that's all. Yuan chuckled. You just dress like this and date me, am I not good enough to match you? He teased. She could only manage a weak M. They pulled up to a lavish, high-end restaurant. Kai Xing's cheeks burned with embarrassment. She apologized, explaining she had no idea they were dining somewhere so formal and had assumed they were just getting hot pot. Good idea, Yuan said smoothly. He would have the restaurant add a French-style hot pot to their menu. Her eyes widened. Was this his restaurant? He shook his head. It'll be mine in 2 days, he said casually. The manager had said people couldn't get in without formal wear, so he was simply buying the restaurant. Are you crazy? She gasped. He laughed, his eyes twinkling behind his glasses. What's wrong with you today? Why can't you detect my lies? He's full of it, she thought, but a smile touched her lips as they clinked glasses. He told her he'd been a fan since her first movie, Tiger Teeth. He even claimed to be her first fan, remembering her name before the movie was even released. She was skeptical, but then he dropped a bombshell. I was on the shooting site at that time, he revealed, and I shot the segment of your audition. Her jaw dropped. What? A memory flashed through her mind, sharp and clear. The day of her audition, a furious director yelling that he would give her a chance if she dared to have her hair shaved. And her younger self, chin held high, fire in her eyes, retorting, if you dare to let me try, why don't I dare? The satisfying click of the clippers, the feeling of liberation. The director's stunned face, then his triumphant declaration, good, it's her. And in the background, she now realized was a young Yuan Kiashi watching everything. You were really funny at that time, he said, pulling her back to the present. She blushed, admitting she was too nervous and angry back then to notice much. She only remembered the director and the assistant director who offered to pay her. It's really happy to chat with you, she said, genuinely smiling. He smiled back. My pleasure. As they talked, the heated, confusing memories of the dancing classroom began to fade away, replaced by this easy, pleasant conversation. I hope so, she thought, a sense of relief washing over her. But outside, parked across the street, Zhu Meng sat in the darkness of his car, his gaze fixed on the restaurant, his face a mask of stone. In an imaginary little theater, Kai Xing held up a sign that read, Certified Two-Timer. thinking that if she had stayed in that room with Zhu Meng any longer, she would have completely lost control of herself. Escaping was shameful, but it worked. Across from her, Zhu Meng held up a sign that read "Stalker," grumbling that he was just doing his job as a bodyguard. Back at dinner, Yoon was confessing that ever since her audition, he'd sworn he would one day direct a movie starring her. He knew everything about her film production major, about her family cutting her off financially, and about how she'd worked part-time jobs to pay her own way. "I know all your developments," he said, his gaze serious. He raised his glass. "Then, can you give me a chance?" She assumed he meant a role in his movie and readily agreed. But he leaned forward, his voice dropping. "I mean more than acting." Her mind went blank, dining with him, but her thoughts immediately drifted to a hazy silhouette of a couple dancing, which sharpened into the image of her in Zhu Meng's arms. She was completely distracted. "You are different today," Yuan observed quietly. He reached out, his fingers gently touching her chin. "Were you practicing dance for Quaking Earth before our date?" he asked. "What happened there?" She looked down, admitting she didn't do well and was upset. He took her hand in his touch gentle. "Wanna dance with me?" The people at the surrounding tables, misinterpreting the moment, began to cheer. "Dance, dance, dance," they chanted, but Kai Xing pulled her hand away sharply. "No," her gaze fell to her own hand. That guy's temperature is still lingering on this hand. The memory of Zhu Meng's touch, his warmth, his presence was a vivid brand on her skin. "I want to keep it longer." She quickly made an excuse, claiming she'd twisted her ankle while practicing. Yuan sighed, looking genuinely disappointed. "Then let's have a walk in the greenhouse," he offered. "I was refused 2 times today, seems that I chose the wrong date." His gaze flickered towards the window, his eyes narrowing. That bodyguard is really haunting. In his car, Zhu Meng felt a prickle on the back of his neck, the distinct feeling of being watched. The scene then shifted to late December on the bustling set of Quaking Earth. The producer was questioning the director's choice of Kai Xing for the lead. The character Zhao Yingmei was supposed to be the most ordinary woman in a crowd, but Kai Xing was far too beautiful. The director just smiled and handed the producer his phone. "Look at it," he said. Just then, a voice called out that the actress was ready. Kai Xing emerged from the dressing room transformed. In a simple pink dress with minimal makeup, she looked soft, vulnerable, and utterly ordinary. Zhu Meng, who was standing nearby, couldn't suppress a small smile. She looked over and caught him. "Why are you laughing?" she asked, a blush creeping up her cheeks. He just shook his head, his voice soft. "You look adorable." "Are you serious? What's wrong with your eyes?" She muttered, turning away, but as she turned, she froze, her eyes widening in pure shock. What are you doing here?" she stammered, her face draining of all color. Standing before her was a disheveled man, his lips split and bleeding, his eyes filled with a desperate, familiar light. He opened his mouth and a single raspy word escaped. "Dad." His face drains of color, his eyes wide with disbelief. How could it be? A world shatters, a gasp caught in her throat as she claps a hand over her mouth. "No, it can't be him. How did you get here?" The question echoes in her mind, a phantom voice from a nightmare she could never escape. The memory claws at her, the leering face, the cigarette dangling from scarred lips, the brutal shove against a cold, hard wall. Her eyes, wide with terror, see not the man in front of her but the monster from her past. But then the image sharpens. The features are different. The eyes, they're not the same. It's not him. The realization washes over her, but the icy grip of fear remains. A gentle hand touches her hair, a soft caress that pulls her from the drowning depths of her memory. A calm, steady voice murmurs beside her, "It's not the guy you think he is." On set, the makeup artists are buzzing with excitement. While they can't even recognize Min and Xing, this makeup is amazing. The praise is a distant hum as Zhao Yingmei, her on-screen husband, stands beside her, but her eyes are locked on the man who just held her. "Zhu Meng," he offers a small, knowing smile, his voice soft as silk. "Silly girl." The word sent a jolt through her, a blush creeping up her neck. Instantly, she shoves him away, her voice a panicked squeak. "Get away from me, don't approach me, please." She turns to her assistant, her face a mask of professionalism. "Please remove my makeup, I need to make it to the filming site for Sweetness in You." Zhu Meng watches her go, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes as he grabs her arm, pulling her along with him. Was she afraid of that scumbag before? Did something unusual happen that I didn't know? His mind races, a protective instinct he can't quite name stirring within him. They arrive at the bustling filming site just in time to hear the director's furious roar. Cut. Storms towards the actress Yan Jian, his face contorted in rage. "Yan Jian, use your head, can you? You are supposed to feel guilty since you find out about Jiang Yan being your love rival. You don't hate her, do you understand?" He gestures wildly. "Jiang Yan is like a mentor to you, but you stole her husband. Don't you think you should feel guilty about that?" Yan Jian simply glares back, her expression a mask of bored defiance. The director, exasperated, points a finger towards Kai Xing. "We're running out of time here, girl. Can't you just do a better job like Kai Xing?" In his mind, the perfect scene plays out. Kai Xing as the wronged mentor, looking on with heartbreaking betrayal. Yan Jian grits her teeth, her fists clenching at her sides. Why do I have to be insulted by the director while she's there just resting?" While Yan Jian stews in her jealousy, Kai Xing is a million miles away, lost in a world of pure bliss. She's listening to her favorite auto game, the male lead's voice washing over her like a warm hug. "You always say that you are not good enough, but I think you are the best." Her heart flutters. "I feel so lucky to know you and work with you. You made me the luckiest and happiest man on earth." A tiny, giddy squeal escapes her lips. "Oh my God," she thinks, her cheeks flushed. "I can't take it anymore. I love his voice. With him, I don't even want to play the auto game." Later, she's running lines with her co-star Yuan Kieshi. He leans in, his eyes full of the character's devotion. You know how I feel about you, what do you feel about me? Kai Xing pulls her script up, hiding her blushing face. She answers in character, but her words feel a little too real. I'm a bit similar to Jiang Yan in this film, which means I don't like men being too pushy. Yuan Kiashi smiles, a charming, boyish. I'm a bit like my character Yan Yang too, he counters smoothly. I'm an honest man who likes to get his feelings out, I don't like to hide my feelings. He leans in a little closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. If you don't give me an explicit answer, I will ask you every day until you say yes. She peeks over her script, a playful glint in her eye. What if I say no? She challenges, he doesn't miss a beat. I'll keep it up and ask you twice every day. She laughs. Well, that doesn't sound like what a gentleman would do. His smile softens. For starters, a real gentleman will always stay true to himself. And with that, he stands up. The playful atmosphere vanishes, replaced by a sudden, raw sincerity. I like you a lot, he says, his gaze unwavering. And I want to be with you, I mean it. Kai Xing's breath catches in her throat, her heart pounding. From across the room, a pair of dark eyes watches them unseen. The whispers of the crew reach his ears. Hey, look at them, is there something going on between them? I just saw them dining alone the other day. Another voice chimes in, oh no, I love that man, but they do make a perfect couple. Zhu Mang's expression turns to ice, his jaw tightening as he listens to their casual chatter. Midnight strikes. As the crew leaves, a sudden roar erupts from the darkness. Zing, 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 a blinding wall of camera flashes explodes around them. Kai Xing freezes, her eyes wide with panic. Zhu Mang curses under his breath. Come on, someone must have tipped them off about your schedule. He pushes her behind him. Yan Jian and Yuan Kiashi are already gone, those people are here for you. The crowd surges forward, no longer adoring fans but a hungry. The lights are extinguished, plunging them into chaos. You are so beautiful, Xing, I love you. Shouts mix with the horrifying sensation of hands reaching for her, grabbing at her clothes, her arms. These aren't just fans. His eyes narrow with fury. He sees a man's hand pulling at her shoulder. That's it. He grabs her wrist, his voice a low command. Let's go, Yunayan stop them. He pulls her through the grasping hands, dragging her away from the nightmare. Tears stream down her face as she stumbles after him. Where are we going, Zhu Mang? She cries out. He doesn't answer, simply pulling her into a dark, deserted stairwell. He kicks the door shut, the sound echoing in the silence. And then he pushes her against the cold wall, his body caging hers in. Before she can speak, before she can even breathe, his lips are on hers. Don't talk, he murmurs against her mouth. It's not a gentle kiss, it's desperate, possessive acclaim. Outside, the paparazzi are frantic. What is happening? I didn't get to take a photo of her yet. Did Kai Xing go that way? Back in the stairwell, Kai Xing pushes lightly against his chest. What, are we going to hide here like a couple of burglars? She whispers, her heart hammering against her ribs, her eyes dart around the small space. I can't believe the emergency exit of the shopping mall is unavailable, that's a fire hazard. He just presses closer, his breath warm against her cheek. Let's go, they know your schedule, he repeats, his voice thick with an emotion she can't place. His proximity is overwhelming. Could you not be so close? She pleads, her voice barely a whisper. His expression crumbles, a deep, painful vulnerability flashing in his eyes. You've been rejecting me since you danced with that guy, he says, his voice raw, and you seemed very happy with that man. The jealousy, the hurt, it's all there in his voice. He slams his hand against the wall beside her head, the sound making her jump. He leans in, his face inches from hers. Do you like him? He asks, his voice a dangerous whisper. But before she can form a reply, he cuts her off. I don't want to hear it. And then he's kissing her again. Deeper this time, a kiss that steals the air from her lungs. It's hotter, more demanding than before. Her mind goes blank, all thoughts erased by the sheer force of his passion. His kiss is so mesmerizing. It feels like chains are wrapping around them, binding her to him in this stolen moment. He's intoxicating, overwhelming, and as his hand reaches for her, he pinches her cheek hard. Arg, she yelps, the spell completely shattered. The chains disappear. She stares at him, her face completely crimson, her lips still tingling from his kiss. How could he? Her mind is a whirlwind of confusion. I should slap him? I did it with that actor in my crew who tried to kiss me by force. I can slap people hard, but the words that tumble out of her mouth are weak and flustered. You are a terrible kisser. He just looks at her, a hint of annoyance in his eyes, and reaches out to pinch her cheek again. Arg, she cries out, swatting his hand away. She glares at him, trying to regain some semblance of control. You are a terrible kisser, she repeats, though it has no bite. He leans in, a slow, wicked smile spreading across his face as he loosens his tie. His voice is a low, seductive purr. Teach me then. Her brain short-circuits. Is he really the Zhu Meng I know? How did he become so flirtatious? Suddenly, a panicked voice cuts through the charged silence. Mang Xing, his assistant Yu Hinayan, peeks around the corner of the door. Her eyes go wide as she takes in the scene. The two of them press together, their faces flushed, their clothes slightly disheveled. Ah, she stammers, a blush rising on her own cheeks. She quickly ducks back out of sight. Please continue, I'll come back later. Mortified beyond belief, Kai Xing raises her sparkly heel and stomps down hard on Zhu Meng's foot. His muffled groan of pain is lost as Yu Hinayan scurries away, her mind reeling. I didn't know Xing could be like that. He leans in again, undeterred, that infuriatingly handsome smirk back on his face. Teach me then, he repeats. Is this really him? How did he become so flirtatious? The assistant's voice echoes in the distance. Please continue. Kai Xing stomps on his foot again. The heat in her cheeks unbearable. I didn't know Xing could be like that. Later that night, Kai Xing soaks in a hot bath surrounded by bubbles and steam. Her phone rests on the edge of the tub, playing her beloved autumn game. The idol's smooth, romantic voice fills the air. You always say you are not good enough, but I think you are the best. I wish to see you every morning when I wake up, no matter what day you have. I want to be there with you and hold you tight. She lets out a frustrated scream, kicking her feet in the water and sending bubbles everywhere. It's just a kiss, it's not a big deal. She tries to picture her game idol, a gorgeous vampire with silver hair and blood-red eyes. Zhu Meng kissed me, but he's nothing compared to my idol. The game's voice continues. I feel so lucky to know you and work with you. You made me the luckiest and happiest man on earth. But it's no use. The memory of the stairwell crashes over her. Zhu Meng's intense gaze, his lips on hers. And that low, husky whisper, teach me then. She lets out a scream that echoes through the apartment and into the starry night sky. Back in the tub, the idol's voice is just background noise. She tries to focus on the handsome vampire character on her screen. Telling herself Zhu Meng is nothing compared to him, she replays the romantic dialogue. But all she can see is Zhu Meng's face. The memory of his kiss is so vivid. His whispered challenge echoing in her ears. Teach me then. She sinks under the water as if she could drown out the memory. In a little bonus scene, Zhu Meng is in a meeting with another actress. You have no experience in acting, he says coolly. I don't know how to get you into the business. The actress leans forward flirtatiously. Let's see how good you are at acting, she purrs. He leans in, his expression completely earnest and focused as they discuss the role. But from the side, a tiny Chibai Kaizing watches, her cheeks puffed out in a pout. I'm so jealous, she mutters. Zhu Meng continues his serious conversation with the actress, completely oblivious to the jealous aura radiating from his wife. He suddenly feels a strange chill and looks around, a confused expression on his face, question marks popping up all around him. The city sleeps under a blanket of stars, silent and still. But inside, a dream is stirring. The soft clatter of expensive shoes echoes in an empty room, a sound that seemed to draw closer and closer to the bed where Kai Xing lies lost in slumber. Her long, dark hair is a river across the white pillows, her lips slightly parted, breathing softly. She's peaceful, completely unaware of the phantom visitor in her subconscious. A voice, smooth as velvet and cold as the grave, whispers her name, Kai Xing. Her brow furrows slightly in her sleep. The dream shifts, and suddenly a man is leaning over her, his features impossibly sharp and handsome, a predatory smile playing on his lips. A faint blush colors her cheeks, even in her sleep. Wake up, the voice commands, a gentle but insistent caress against her ear. The dream fractures again, the image repeating itself. The clatter, the sleeping beauty, the whisper of her name, the impossibly close face of a man she can't quite place. His voice a phantom touch, urging her to wake up, Kai Xing. But then the dream twists into a nightmare. A new voice screams, let go of her. Suddenly she's surrounded. 3 men, their faces a blur of possessive desire, are fighting over her. She's mine, one declares, another sneers, no, she's mine. A third voice shouts, piss off, she's mine. Her eyes fly open, her heart hammering against her ribs. She sits bolt upright, gasping for air. What the hell was that? The remnants of the dream cling to her like a shroud as she stumbles into the kitchen, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and anger. How dare he? She can't believe he's coveting her, invading her thoughts, even her dreams. Her cheeks burn as the memory of his kiss flashes behind her eyes, so vivid it feels like it's happening all over again. That man, that kiss, hold on, her eyes narrow, he seems so experienced in this stuff. Her hand tightens around a jar of sauce, her knuckles white. He must have had a lot of girlfriends. I can't believe I was fooled by his usual seriousness. Her mind is racing, a chaotic mess of embarrassment and frustration. How silly am I? I've been with several men before and now I'm confused by his kiss. She grabs her hair, wanting to scream. How did I let Zhu Meng do that to me? How did he do that? Her thoughts spiral, leaving her dazed and disoriented. A small voice cuts through her panic. Arg. She jumps, her soul practically leaving her body as she sees her son Zhao Tian peering at her from behind the fridge door in his little polka dot pajamas. Her face drains of all color, her expression a mask of pure shock. Zhao Tian just blinks at her. What was that all about, he wonders. It wasn't like Zhu Meng had a pain in his foot and I supported him. Kai Xing quickly tries to compose herself, her face still pale. I'm having insomnia, she lies, not very convincingly. But not because of what happened, I was just thinking about work. She insists she's been so busy juggling 2 films she hasn't had time to think about her relationships. I came here to get a glass of water. I dozed off and didn't sleep soundly, she rambles. Zhao Tian just nods. Okay, well, good night, she says, turning to flee the scene, but her son is too sharp. Xing, your glass is still empty, he points out. She freezes mid-step, busted. He didn't say anything or even think of anything. But his silence is deafening. Just then his phone buzzes, a text from his grandma. What's wrong with Mang? He's doing push-ups in the middle of the night. A picture of a shirtless Zhu Meng mid-push-up accompanies the message. Zhao Tian's face turns beet red. I don't know a thing, please don't make me say it. The next morning, Zhu Meng emerges from the bathroom looking infuriatingly fresh and handsome. He runs a hand through his perfectly styled hair, a small, confident smile on his face. He finds Kai Xing and her mother-in-law dressed for morning run. Mang, I will go and jog with Xing today, you can have some rest, her mother-in-law announces. But Zhu Meng smoothly steps in, placing a hand on the older woman's shoulder. It's okay, he says, his eyes fixed on Kai Xing. I'll keep her company. Kai Xing and her mother-in-law exchange a look of shared annoyance. Well, that's just great, Kai Xing thinks, her internal monologue screaming. No, I love jogging and I want to jog with her. She makes a desperate dash for the elevator, trying to block the door with her body. But Zhu Meng is already there, his calm, handsome face a picture of amusement. You can't escape me, his eyes seem to say. She tries to explain away her late-night kitchen meltdown, repeating her flimsy excuse about work and insomnia. Well, good night, she had said, trying to run away fast, only for her son to call her out on her empty glass. The memory makes her flush with embarrassment. At that moment, his phone had buzzed with that text about Zhu Mang's midnight push-ups, and poor Xiao Tian looked like he was about to explode. The morning after, Zhu Mang is all smiles, looking pristine and ready. Completely unfazed as he stands before them, he gently dismisses his mother, insisting on accompanying Kai Xing. The silent fury between the two women is palpable. Kai Xing's mind races. No, I love jogging, I want to jog with her. But her desperate attempt to block the elevator is futile. Zhu Mang's smirk says it all, you can't escape me. He just stands there looking impossibly good. Later, Kai Xing sits in a chic cafe, pouring her heart out to her best friend Zhang Mian. Listen to me, Yun, she begins, her voice low. Someone kissed me without my consent. Mian's fingers pause over her laptop, her eyes flash with protective fury. I'll beat him up for you, she declares instantly. But Kai Xing shakes her head, a complicated emotion in her eyes. He's a cute guy, she admits softly. The type I like, and we have a history. Mian's jaw drops, she leans forward, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. Wait, is he the guy you mentioned before? Is he your hero, the young man who saved you before? Kai Xing's face flushes, steam practically coming out of her ears as she nods. Yes, Mian grabs her hands, her face alight with excitement. Come on, get him. But Kai Xing's expression saddens, her gaze dropping. I can't, she whispers. A single tear traces a path down her cheek as memories flood her mind. I don't want his sympathy, the scene replays. The confession in the cafe to her best friend Zhang Mian. The promise to beat someone up, only to find out it was a guy Kai Xing actually liked. The dawning realization that this was the hero from her past. Mian's enthusiastic encouragement met with Kai Xing's heartbreaking refusal. I don't want his sympathy, she repeats, her eyes filled with a deep hidden pain. Mian looks at her, truly seeing her friend's distress for the first time. I didn't expect you to be so distressed by a man, she says softly. Kai Xing looks up, her eyes dark. There is something else, she confesses. Yuan Qiaxi's older sister invited me to her family dinner. Mian is confused. What does that mean? The memory of Yuan Qiaxi's words echo in her mind. My sister likes you and she's been wanting to know you. His sister, the boss lady of Yuanqi Entertainment. Mian's eyes widen with understanding. This is your opportunity, Xing, she exclaims, her voice sharp with excitement. With the help of Yuanqi Entertainment, you can end your contract with Fengchuan Media and get rid of Lin Shuchuan forever. She looks at Kai Xing seriously. Yuan Qiaxi is better, it would be best if you chose him instead of your old friend. The words hit Kai Xing with the force of a physical blow. She has a point. Her gaze becomes distant, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision. Yuan Qiaxi is a better choice for me, back at Fengchuan Media. Zhu Meng holds the car door open for her. Let me take you to the dancing studio, he says, his voice professional. But she hesitates, her mind in turmoil. Why am I hesitating? She instinctively tries to avoid him, to put distance between them. Nian will take me, she says quickly. But Zhu Meng is prepared. I'm the head of your security team, he states calmly. I'm familiar with all the hallways, electricity facilities, and monitors in your dancing studio. He looks at Nian. If Nian goes with you, he will need to get familiar with all the information I already know. That would be a waste of time and delay your schedule. Nian immediately nods in agreement. Meng has a point. Ocean has already given Nian and me some work to do. A door slams shut with a decisive clang. Trapped in the car, the silence is thick with unspoken words. Right, she thinks, trying to regain her composure. I'm just Yu Mang's client, not his employer. She crosses her legs, adopting a cool, detached persona. He had to do whatever Fengchuan Media told him. At the studio, the sound of music fills the air as she dances, losing herself in the movement. But Zhu Meng watches, his expression unreadable. He recalls a conversation from before. He'd asked about her parents. They passed away, she had told him, her face a blank mask. I haven't gone back to my hometown since I went to college. During vacations, I would stay in school or with my aunt. But he knew it was a lie. He remembers handing her a water bottle. Her turning away from him. Please wait outside, I don't want to see you, she'd said. Why do you lie? He'd wondered, his heart aching for her. Did I give him too much freedom? He's younger than me but so rude, she had thought, trying to push him away. Just wait outside, I want to practice alone, she'd insisted. Now he breaks the silence, his voice cutting through the music. Why did you tell them your parents were dead? She freezes, her back to him. His question hangs in the air, sharp and heavy. Why did you lie about your father? An image flashes through her mind, dark and terrifying. A man's angry face, a hand grabbing her arm, her younger self struggling in his grip. The memory makes her flinch. She turns, her eyes cold as ice. It's none of your business, she says, shutting him down completely. Later, as they leave, the air between them is thick with tension. Zhu Meng walks ahead, his posture rigid. I'll get the car in the parking lot, he says, his voice clipped. Kai Xing watches him go, a strange feeling twisting in her gut. We usually get the car together. Just then, a familiar voice calls her name. Kai Xing, it's Lin Shuchuan, looking dapper in a pinstripe suit. I'm here to pick up my niece, he says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Are you here to practice dancing? He asks. She gives a curt, indifferent yeah. He gets straight to the point. I heard Yuan Qiaxi is pursuing you. His gaze is intense, proprietary. You should choose me over him, he declares. He leans in, his voice dropping. He's not a good man. She glares at him, utterly unimpressed. Just mind your own business, she snaps. But he's relentless. I've got to stop him from poaching you, he says with a smug grin. After UNC Entertainment got restructured, Yun Kiyoshi's sister became very aggressive. She has collected a lot of talents. She raises an eyebrow, a smirk playing on her lips. I see, you think I'm a talent too, she says, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Well, I need a stepping stone once in a while. Otherwise, how could people tell the real talents of ordinary people? I know you don't want to lose me, she adds cheekily. He ignores her jab. Yun Kyoshi is not a good man, he repeats. You should choose me over him. He reminds her of a conversation she had with a friend. Did you notice that all the girls Lin Shutyun had were somewhat like you? Her friend had asked, why did he do that? Perhaps he still has feelings for you. You choose him because you want to be an ordinary woman just like everybody else, right? Lin Shutyun continues, his voice like poison. You want someone to love you and indulge you with no bottom line, but Yun Kyoshi is not that kind of guy. You and he are similar. You two are like two sharp knives, which means you will get hurt if you are with him. This is so annoying, she thinks, rolling her eyes internally. Why is Yun Kyoshi sharp as a knife? If he's like a knife, then what is Yu Mang? Is he an iron plate? A small laugh escapes her lips. PFFT. Lin Shutyun glares at her, annoyed by her lack of attention. Hey, I'm talking to you here. I'm listening, she says dryly. Keep yapping. That's it, he snaps. He grabs her wrist in a painful grip, his face twisting with rage. Kaizing, don't forget who you are, he snarls. I was the one who helped you handle your father. You are nothing without me. In a flash of pure instinct, she swings her other hand, smacking him square in the face with her phone. Clang, oh ah. He cries out, stumbling back, his glasses askew. He straightens up, his eyes burning with fury. Kaizing, he roars, how dare you. He lunges for her, but a hand shoots out, grabbing her wrist and pulling her back. It's Yu Mang. He places her safely behind him, his eyes fixed on Lin Shutyun, cold and hard. You don't have to do that, he tells her softly. Then with lightning speed, he pivots, his fist connecting with Lin Shutyun's jaw. Bam. The man crumples to the ground, a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth. Zhu Meng stands over him, his chest heaving slightly, protecting Kaizing. She stares, utterly stunned. What happened? She asks, her voice barely a whisper. You didn't know what happened, but you still hit him. He turns to her, a slow, dangerous smirk spreading across his face. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, he says, his voice a low growl. You just gave me a chance to do that. A slow smile blossoms on her face, bright and genuine, chasing away all the shadows. That was a stupid move, she says, but her eyes are sparkling. However, you are the first and the only one who beat people for me. In a cute little bonus scene, Kaizing and Mian are gushing over a picture of Zhu Mang. He's so cute, how could he be so cute? Mian swoons. It's said that some men are handsome but short-lived. Most male leads are like that. Kaizing smiles. He's okay, I think your husband is better than him. Mian's focus shifts. Zing, when will you introduce me to him? I want to know him. Kaizing deadpans. You like him? You know he has a boyfriend. But Mian is undeterred. He likes men and I like him, she says with a determined look. So what? Her mind was a whirlwind of stars and falling snow, each flake a question mark against the deep velvet of the night. Why was it always him? Of all the people in the world, why did fate in its cruel and beautiful dance keep pushing her toward Yun Kyoshi? Her past was a ghost, a constant shadow she was trying to outrun, but his presence was a blinding light, illuminating everything she tried to hide. It made no sense. This connection, this pull, I don't understand, she thought, the words echoing in the silent chambers of her heart. But as his hand found hers, the warmth of his skin seeping into her own, a strange calm washed over her. The rough texture of her boots stood on the same snowy ground as his polished dress shoes, two different worlds colliding. Maybe she didn't need to understand it. Maybe for once she could just be. A small, genuine laugh escaped her lips, a sound she hadn't realized she was capable of making so freely. Yun Kyoshi's head tilted, his eyes soft and questioning, a gentle smile playing on his lips as he asked what was so funny. I don't know what this is, she thought, her gaze locking with his, but I know I'm happy now, and isn't that what truly counts? The thought was a revelation, a tiny sunbeam breaking through the clouds of her anxiety, but the universe loved its drama. One moment she was standing secure in his grasp, the next her boot slipped on a treacherous patch of ice. A startled cry tore from her throat as the world tilted sideways. R. Panic flared in Yun Kyoshi's eyes, his voice a sharp command against the cold air as he yelled, watch out. His arm shot out, a steel band wrapping around her waist, pulling her back from the fall and into a breathtaking dip. Her heart hammered against her ribs, her breath catching in her throat as she found herself pressed against the solid wall of his chest. Snowflakes dusted her hair, her face was buried in the warm fabric of his coat, and a blush crept up her neck. Oh God, I hope no one saw that. Her mind, ever the pragmatist, was already racing. A picture like this, Zayoyan would have a nightmare dealing with the crisis. To hell with that. But even as her mind worried about logistics and scandals, her body betrayed her, melting into his embrace, a traitorous warmth spreading through her veins. For a single perfect moment, they were just two silhouettes against a star-dusted, snowy sky, lost in their own world. Later, safely in the warmth of the car, he turned to her. He announced he needed to stop by a store to get something. A playful glint entered her eyes as she chimed in, saying she needed some new clothes too. After all, Yun Kyoshi wanted her to meet his family. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. As the car sped through the glittering city streets, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. She pointed out a tall, imposing building. Look at that building, Zhu Mang, she said, her voice soft with memory. We used to go there all the time. Yun Kyoshi's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of irritation crossing his face. Who was we? But he remained silent as she continued, lost in her past. She explained how it was a mecca for aspiring actors, a place where countless crews and directors held auditions. The hopeful and the desperate would flock there, clutching their resumes, their dreams held tight in their hands. She remembered it all so clearly. Zhang Mian and I would prepare dozens of resumes and give them to those casting directors. The name hung in the air between them. Yuan Qiaxi's voice was low, cutting through her reminiscence. Who is Zhang Mian? His gaze was sharp, analytical. He pressed on, his tone laced with confusion. I thought you signed a contract with Fengchuan Media. Why were you giving your resumes to casting directors? She sighed, the memory still carrying a faint sting. She explained that it was before her contract, a time when she was just another face in the crowd. Later, after a bitter fallout with Lin Shuchun, he'd refused to assign her a new agent out of spite, leaving her with no choice but to fend for herself. She had to go back to that building, back to handing out her own resumes just to survive. Yuan Qiaxi's profile was cast in the passing city lights, his expression unreadable but thoughtful. She must have had a rough time back then, he realized. A wave of protectiveness washed over him. The car pulled up to their destination and Kai Xing's phone rang. She answered, telling her friend Dai she was almost there. He watched her, a storm of emotions brewing inside him. He saw her future bright and blindingly famous. But with that fame, the vultures would come digging into her past, unearthing every struggle, every checkered moment she had fought so hard to overcome. She needs someone, he thought, someone who can shield her from that, someone who can help her hide her past and elevate her career to the next level. The thought was followed by a crushing wave of self-doubt as he saw her greet her friend with a brilliant smile. He covered his mouth, a gesture of profound pain and inadequacy. And I'm not that guy who can help her. The realization was a shard of ice in his gut. Inside the opulent boutique, he sat stiffly, his arms crossed, a thundercloud of discomfort hanging over him as Kai Xing disappeared behind a curtain with her friends. Suddenly, the curtain was swept aside and a woman peeked out, her voice calling for Zhu Mang to come inside. Yuan Qiaxi's face flushed a deep crimson. He stammered, trying to shield Kai Xing's privacy, insisting that she was busy with an important client and shouldn't be disturbed. Just then, another man appeared, exuding an aura of effortless wealth and confidence. He was here for his sister's dress, he explained, and then with a casualness that grated on Yuan Qiaxi's every nerve, he offered Kai Xing a ride on his private plane. What, you have a plane? Kai Xing's surprise was evident. From his corner, Yuan Qiaxi watched, a bitter taste filling his mouth. He gnawed on his thumb, his heart sinking into his stomach. So that kiss, that moment in the snow, it didn't mean anything, did it? How could he compete with private planes in a world he didn't belong to, aboard the flight? A commercial one, not a private jet. Kai Xing tried to relax, but her assistant was buzzing with questions. Kai Xing, is it true? Is Mr. Yuan really pursuing you? Are you going to be poached by Yuanchi Entertainment? Kai Xing sighed, patting her assistant's head affectionately, still feeling a little guilty about the hot pot incident. But her expression hardened at the mention of the rumors. Nothing happened between me and Yuan Qiaxi, she stated firmly, her voice leaving no room for argument. Who started this nonsense? She needed to get to the bottom of it. I gotta go to the bathroom. She stood, asking Zai Oyan to look into it for her. But just as she took a step, the plane lurched with turbulence. She stumbled, a gasp escaping her lips as she lost her balance. A strong hand shot out, steadying her, holding her firm. Her eyes widened as she looked up into the concerned face of Yuan Qiaxi. As he held her, a card slipped from his pocket, tumbling through the air. The Wheel of Fortune, a symbol of destiny, of fate in motion. It represented a sudden change, an insurmountable barrier, a deviated path, an omen of the chaos to come. The scene shifted to a sun-drenched Parisian cafe. Kai Xing sat across from Yan Jian, the air thick with unspoken history. Yan Jian's gaze was direct, her voice heavy with a long-held truth. I admit, she began, I was the bad guy in our relationship. Her eyes held a flicker of genuine regret, but we did love each other. Suddenly, the sharp crack of a slap echoed through the air. Shame on you, Kai Xing's voice was filled with righteous fury. Cut, the director's voice boomed, the illusion was broken. On the monitor, the crew watched the take, mesmerized. The scriptwriter was practically beaming. I can't believe Kai Xing memorized Aoyangzu's lines too. She's been running lines with Yuan Qiaxi all day, but she knew all of Yan Jian's parts perfectly. But the director was unimpressed, complaining to Yan Jian. What's so good about her acting? She didn't even cry. Kai Xing overheard her assistant whispering a warning in her ear. They know we have no background, so they're trying to provoke her. Don't fall for it. A wry smile touched Kai Xing's lips. Asterisk, well, that's a smart move. Asterisk, the director's voice grew louder as he instructed Yan Jian. I call the shots here, you do whatever I tell you. The implication was clear. He wanted a bigger, more dramatic reaction, even if it meant undermining Kai Xing's performance. Yan Jian looked shocked, but Kai Xing's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. Asterisk, you think I'm a pushover? Nice try. Asterisk, she pulled Yan Jian aside for a quiet word. What do we do? Yan Jian whispered, clearly flustered. Kai Xing considered her options. Asterisk, do I really slap your face or just pretend to you later? Asterisk, a decision formed. I got it. She held up her hand, displaying a delicate ring on her finger. You hit me before, she said, her voice low. Yan Jian stared, completely baffled. What do you mean? The director was losing his patience. Are you going to ruin my face? Stop arguing. Kai Xing ignored him, her focus entirely on Yan Jian. That's not just an ordinary ring, she explained, launching into an impromptu backstory. It was from Yan Yang's mother. He proposed to Jiang Yan with it, but your character, Aoyangzu, stole it from me. She painted a vivid picture, her eyes alight with creative fire. So after I slap you, I would stroke this ring as I walk away. I'd be angry, yes, but the grief, the memory of that betrayal would slowly wash over me. The scriptwriter's eyes lit up. That's good, do that. Yan Jian's face was a mask of fury, but the crew was now smiling, completely won over. She had no choice. Through gritted teeth and a forced smile, Yan Jian conceded, "You are good." Kai Xing smiled back, her own expression perfectly pleasant. "Well, you taught me a lot, Yan." In the background, the Chibai Peanut Gallery was buzzing with the drama, Xiaoyan looking terrified while the others found it hilarious. Yan Jian turned away, then glanced back over her shoulder, a new glint in her eye. "Okay," she said, a challenge in her tone. "You can exert some strength when you slap me for the sake of the film." She excused herself to redo her makeup, and her brother took the opportunity to approach Kai Xing, mentioning a rare wine she'd wanted. He told her Liang had found it and would bring it to the Yuan family party the day after tomorrow. Kai Xing's smile tightened. Asterisk, I didn't know the Yuan family invited Chen Liang and Yan Jian. Asterisk, so many people will be there. The web was getting more tangled by the second. In the car on the way home, Xiaoyan was still buzzing from the onset victory. "You were so great, Xing. No wonder the scriptwriter wanted to give you more lines." Then she dropped the bomb. "Yeah, I heard her telling the director that. She had already persuaded the boss to give Jiang Yan more lines." Kai Xing froze, her mind racing, replaying the day's events. So Yan Jian's provocation, the director's hostility, was it all just an act? A quiet, dangerous question formed in her mind as she turned to her assistant, her voice deceptively calm. "When did you hear that? Was it before the shooting?" A question hung in the air, sharp and precise. Her eyes, a swirling mix of curiosity and suspicion, were fixed on him. When did he hear that? Was it before the shooting? The timeline was everything. Zhu Meng's brow furrowed in thought. He remembered now, a brief moment of quiet before the chaos of the set. Yes, it was before the shooting, he confirmed, recalling his trip to the restroom not long after they arrived. He looked at her, sensing the sudden tension in the car. "What is it? Is there something wrong?" Kai Xing's gaze drifted, her mind a labyrinth of confusing puzzle pieces. "It's strange," she murmured, more to herself than to him. The scriptwriter, he was always so eager to add more lines for her, especially when he liked her performance. But this time was different. She could still see the flicker of genuine surprise on his face when he learned about Aoyang Zhu's expanded role. Why the change? A memory surfaced, sharp and clear. Xing, the scriptwriter, persuading Chen Luoyang to give her more lines. And the key, the leverage. Xing knew Chen Luoyang and Yan Jian were lovers. It was all a game of favors and secrets. Her jaw tightened. "Xiaoyan," she said, her voice low and steady as she turned to her assistant in the car. "Please check my contract with the crew of the Sweetness in You." Xiaoyan nodded, but Kai Xing's eyes had already closed, a serene mask falling over her features. "There's nothing unusual about my contract," she thought, a small knowing smile playing on her lips. "So adding more lines for me is a good thing on the surface?" Her fingers brushed against her handbag, searching for something. She pulled out a single tarot card. The Wheel of Fortune, but the energy radiating from it was cold, foreboding. Sudden change, an insurmountable barrier, a deviated path. Her heart sank. This is not a good thing. 2 days later, the city glittered under a canopy of stars. Kai Xing emerged from the car, a vision in a gown that seemed woven from the night sky itself, shimmering with every step. "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting," she said, her voice a soft melody. Yuan Qiashi stood waiting, impeccably dressed in a tuxedo, his eyes drinking her in. "No, you look beautiful today," he said, his voice warm, chasing away the slight chill in the air. He held the door open for her, a perfect gentleman. "I'll go," he stated simply, intending to escort her inside. Xiaoyan's eyes widened in surprise. But Xing said she would take me," she thought, confused. Qiashi, however, was firm. Before anyone could argue, another bodyguard stepped forward, suggesting it would be better if she were accompanied by a female. But a voice cut through the discussion, sharp and authoritative. It was Zhu Meng. "I'm the head of MS, Kai Xing's security team," he declared, his presence undeniable. "According to our contract, I have to accompany her to all the big events." He shot the other bodyguard a look that could freeze fire. "So enough dilly-dallying." Kai Xing watched the exchange, a flicker of amusement in her eyes as a tiny chibai version of herself popped up in her mind. "He's cute, isn't he?" In the quiet of the car, Qiashi gazed out at the blur of city lights, a thoughtful expression on his face. "It looks like it might rain," he commented softly as they pulled up to a grand illuminated sign, Yuan Family's Manor. The estate was breathtaking, a sprawling mansion surrounded by perfectly manicured gardens and glowing rose bushes. Inside, the air buzzed with conversation and the clinking of champagne glasses. Kieshi's hand rested possessively on the small of her back as they navigated the crowd. Suddenly, a sharp voice pierced the elegant chatter. "Go find him. What kind of banquet is this if he's not here?" An impeccably dressed woman with a severe expression stood at the top of the stairs, her eyes scanning the room with frustration. Her gaze landed on Yuan Kieshi. "Q," she called out, her tone softening only slightly. She descended the stairs, her eyes immediately falling on Kai Xing. "Sis, did Eric run away again?" Kieshi asked with a charming smile. His sister ignored the question, her focus entirely on Kai Xing. "Kai Xing is my good friend, sis," he introduced. The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "She's the most beautiful girl among all the girlfriends you've been with." The words were a compliment, but they felt like a carefully aimed dart. Asterisk, she's trying to psycho me out. Asterisk, Kai Xing thought, maintaining her poise. The woman continued, mentioning that the famed director Zhu Feng had praised her acting a few times, a fact she noted he rarely did for anyone. The polite interrogation continued. "How is your family?" she asked, her gaze unwavering. Kai Xing's stomach growled in protest. "Sis, heh, I'm hungry, let's grab a bite," she said, using it as an excuse to escape. Oh sure, Kiyoshi replied, leading her towards the lavish buffet. Stepping onto a balcony for a breath of fresh air, she was startled by a familiar voice. Kaizing, it was the producer. I didn't expect to see you here. He cut right to the chase, his gaze intense. So you chose Yuen Kiyoshi. The question hung between them, a silent challenge. What about your bodyguard? He pressed. Does this mean you've already chosen Yuen Kiyoshi? Kaizing lifted her chin. What's the problem with that? Mai's eyes glinted. What about your bodyguard? He repeated, a smirk playing on his lips. His name is Zhu Mang, right? He's a good-looking, strapping man. I like that in a man. Kaizing's patience wore thin. What does he have to do with this? I chuckled, changing tactics. By the way, who took the pictures of you in the landing club? You look even more beautiful in those pictures than in magazines. He leaned closer. You were looking at the camera, didn't you see the person who did it? He called her a white lily, and she immediately recoiled. Please don't call me that anymore, I don't like it. He insisted it was a compliment, that she was pure and elegant. A deep voice suddenly interrupted them. What are you doing here? It was Zhu Mang, his presence a solid wall beside her. I took you here, remember? He stated, his eyes fixed on Mai. Kaizing was flustered. I thought bodyguards were not allowed to come inside, whereas you. Mai just smiled, explaining he'd introduced Zhu Mang as his cousin. She shot Zhu Mang an annoyed look. You look rigid, she whispered to him. People can tell you are a bodyguard, not Mai's cousin. She tried to regain control of the evening. Perhaps after we dance, I can dance with you and Kiyoshi, she suggested playfully. His answer was a blunt no. His eyes met hers, a silent challenge passing between them. I'll only do it if you dance with me first. Just then, a woman's voice called out, Hi Kaizing. A group of women approached, their eyes landing on Zhu Mang. He's Mai's cousin, what's your name again? One asked. Zhu Mang simply turned and walked away, leaving them speechless. Well, look at him, another giggled. He's a man of character, just like Mr. Mai. The women tittered as Zhu Mang's brow twitched in annoyance. Just as the awkward moment stretched, a smooth voice intervened. Yuen Kiyoshi had appeared, looking every bit the charming prince. He bowed gracefully before her. Ms. Kaizing, may I have the honor to have this dance with you? He took her hand, and the world seemed to melt away as he led her to the dance floor. They moved together perfectly, a breathtaking sight. Across the room, Zhu Mang watched, his expression unreadable, a storm brewing behind his calm facade. Their eyes met for a fleeting second, a silent conversation passing between them. What's eating you? Kiyoshi murmured, sensing her distraction. She looked away, unable to answer. Their dance was interrupted by Mai, a mischievous glint in his eye. Hey Q, let's play hide and seek. The winner will French kiss Eric. He leaned in conspiratorially. You know where he is, don't you? Kiyoshi flatly denied it. But a light bulb went off in Kaizing's head. She grabbed Mai's arm, dragging him away from the crowd. Excuse me, she said sweetly, I need to borrow Mai. Once they were alone, her demeanor shifted. She confronted him about the script changes. Zhu Jing persuaded Chen Luoyang to give you extra lines. That's impossible. Mai sighed, laying out the facts. Zhu Jing only charged $3 million for the script. She offered a discount, he explained. Why would she go through the trouble of modifying the script and resubmitting it for approval, all for such a low payment? The pieces clicked into place, forming a dark and ugly picture. Asterisk I see, asterisk she thought, her blood running cold. Asterisk someone is trying to set a trap for me. Asterisk Mai's voice dropped to a whisper. Ah, here comes your enemy. Chen Luoyang was walking towards them, arm in arm with a man Kaizing didn't recognize, and then it happened. Bang. A glass of red wine flew through the air, splashing across the front of her beautiful gown, staining it a deep, ugly crimson. The man with Chen Luoyang glared at her, his face a mask of fury. Enough to play this game with me, he sneered. Chen Luoyang's voice dripped with venom, a triumphant hiss. I'll never let you make it in the business, Kaizing. The world tilted on its axis. Asterisk, is this the consequence of me refusing to accept my fate? Asterisk, just then, the producer Yan Yan appeared beside them, feigning shock. Kaizing, I didn't expect you to know Mr. Mai. Chen Luoyang smiled sweetly. We met in a fun situation. Zhu Jing, the scriptwriter, joined the circle of sharks. You must have said something to offend her first, right? The man who threw the wine, Mr. Chen spoke up, his voice loud enough for others to hear. Kaizing and Chen Luoyang are the two pillars of our crew. Zhu Jing's words were like poisoned honey. She praised Kaizing's performance, how she'd even memorized all the lines for the new script, but one word stood out, a glaring red flag. We. Kaizing's eyes narrowed. Asterisk, she said we. Asterisk, a memory flashed in her mind, Chen Luoyang being reluctant to change the script, then thanking Yan Yan. It was Yan Yan's idea all along. Zhu Jing feigned innocence, questioning why anyone would change an approved script and risk delays. Mai stepped in, his voice calm but firm, revealing the entire plot. Yan Yan believed we should have given far more weight to the character named Jiang Yun. She asked me to add more lines for Kaizing's part. It will make the entire film deep and meaningful. Mr. Chen then addressed Kaizing directly. He admitted he was concerned when she was first recommended, having never worked with her before. But Yan Yan convinced me, he said, the words now feeling like a death sentence. Zhu Jing took a delicate sip of her wine. Pei Yuen would have come as well, she mused, but she was summoned to Beijing for an emergency meeting. The name Pei Yuen caused a flicker of rage in Mr. Chen's eyes. Zhu Jing turned her sharp gaze on Mai. What is your story about Mai? Mai smoothly deflected. I'll let you be the first one to watch it once it's done, all right? But the damage was done. Mr. Chen was seething, his posture rigid with fury. Yun Kiyoshi appeared at Kai Xing's side, a comforting presence. Let's go over and have some hot beverages, Kai Xing. But Yan Yan wasn't finished. She smirked, her eyes gleaming with malice. Kai Xing knows about Mai's film, she announced to Mr. Chen. You can ask her. She leaned in, her voice a venomous whisper meant for everyone to hear. I will let people know that you are playing in another film today. She turned to Kai Xing, her face a mask of false concern. Kai Xing, aren't you the leading actress? The accusation hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The entire party watched frozen. And then another splash, but this time it wasn't Kai Xing who was hit. Yun Kiyoshi had moved in front of her, taking the full force of the second glass of wine. He glared at Mr. Chen, his voice dangerously low. That's rude, Mr. Chen. Bang. Mr. Chen slammed his fist on a table, but Kiyoshi was unmoved. You are good, he conceded, a cold smile on his lips. But you are not smart enough to play this game with me. Kai Xing stood frozen, wine dripping from her hair, the weight of their treachery crushing her. Luoyang Yan Yan, they had planned this all along. Mr. Chen violently shook off Chen Luoyang's hand as she tried to calm him. I hate those who pretend to be smart but actually are fools. He roared, his words striking Chen Luoyang like a physical blow. From the sidelines, Zhu Jing watched the chaos with a satisfied smirk. She leaned towards Kiyoshi's sister. Q likes that woman, doesn't he? The sister's face turned to stone, her voice dropping to an icy whisper. That's impossible. Kiyoshi has a fiancé who's a decent girl.